well, it is 6:30. I will go ahead and call this meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Days.
Here.
Councilmember Dunaway. Councilmember Fitch.
Present.
Councilmember Gray.
Present.
Councilmember Clancy.
Here.
Councilmember Tracus.
Present.
Councilmember Harder.
Present.
Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. The journals of the meetings of September 15th and September 23rd, 2020 have not yet been finalized. We have no bid openings this evening, so we will move on to communications.
Madam Chair, we have no tax compromises, zoning matters, or road and bridge matters this evening, so we will move to other communications. Under other communications, item number 1.
Receive, file, and the county councilor be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation. Same motion through item number 3, and that will be the order.
Item number 4, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th districts.
Receive and file, and that will be the order.
Item number 5, 6th district.
Receive, file. Please.
So ordered.
Item number 6, 2nd district.
Receive, file, and the county councilor be directed to Receive, file, and the county councilor be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation, and that will be the order.
Item number 7, 4th district.
Receive, file, and the county councilor be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation. And same for item 8 and 9.
So ordered.
Item number 10, 5th, 1st, 2nd, 4th, 6th, and 7th districts.
Receive, file, and the county councilor be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation, and that will be the order.
Item number 11.
Receive, file, and the issuance of a request for proposal be approved as requested. Is there a second?
Second, Gray.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 12, 2nd district.
Receive, file, and the issuance of a request for proposal be approved as requested. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 13, 2nd district.
Receive, file, and the issuance of a request for proposal be approved as requested. Is there a second?
Second, Days.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 14, 7th district.
Receive, file, to prepare the appropriate legislation.
So ordered.
Item number 15, 4th district.
Receive, file, the county councilor be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation.
So ordered.
Item number 16, 4th district.
Receive, file, and the county councilor be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation. And on number 16, I'd like to hold.
So ordered.
Item number 17.
Receive, file, and the county councilor be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation, and that will be the order.
Item number 18.
Receive, file, and the county councilor be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation, and that will be the order.
Item number 19.
Receive, file, and the county councilor be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation, and that will be the order.
Item number 20.
Receive, file, and the county councilor be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation, and that will be the order.
Item number 21.
Receive, file, hold on the order of business, and refer to the council as a committee of the whole, and that will be the order. Please read the add-ons.
Under other communications, item number 1, 6th District.
Receive, file, and the county council will be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation. Same motion for item number 2.
So ordered. Report of the county executive.
Thank you, Lisa, and good evening, everyone. I'd like to provide a couple of important reminders that I mentioned in my press briefing yesterday. First, free flu shots are now available through our Department of Public Health. Appointments can be made online through SCU.com. Just click on the flu shot scheduling button on the home page, and you can choose a time and a date to receive a flu shot either at our North County Health Center in Berkeley or the South County Center in Sunset Hills.
I'm sorry, Dr. Page, there's a kind of an audio issue on your end. I don't know if you could scoot closer to the microphone. I'm sorry to cut in, but I want to make sure folks can hear you.
No worries. How's this?
Eh.
Well, this is the best I've got.
Okay, well, I think we can hopefully still hear you. It's a little robotic, but go ahead.
Getting a flu shot has always been a key step in staying healthy. With the COVID-19 pandemic, it's never been more important. Common symptoms of COVID-19, fever, coughing, congestion, difficulty breathing are like symptoms of the flu. Flu shots do not prevent COVID-19. However, getting a flu shot increases your chances of getting the flu and keeps people healthy and out of the hospital for flu treatment. Preserves our capacity to provide hospital care for people with COVID-19. The CDC recommends that everyone 6 months and older receive a flu shot unless they have a medical reason not to do so. Yesterday, the new guidelines for youth sports went into effect. With these new guidelines, which allow for more sports to be played, we urge all of our athletes, our coaches, and our parents to closely follow the restrictions that accompany these new guidelines. Physical activity is a vital component of keeping our kids healthy, and I fully support doing all that we can to provide healthy outlets for our kids to exercise, interact with other kids, and to learn team-building skills that they will carry with them into adulthood. St. Louis County continues to balance the importance of activity for our children with the reality of increased community spread. Of significant concern is getting our children back into the classroom as soon as safely possible and as soon as school districts are comfortable in doing so. These youth sports guidelines are in place to limit the transmission of COVID-19. Students engage in sporting events without impeding the progress made to return to the classroom. It is recommended that elementary and middle school students can return to the classroom if it's not a mandate. It's up to each school district to decide what is best for the safety of their students, teachers, and staff. Our Department of Public Health set these youth sports guidelines after input from athletic directors, pediatricians, and other sports advocates. Details of the guidelines can be found at stlcorona.com. Click on the Reopening Guidelines button on the homepage. The goal of this partnership is to determine best practices by all who sponsor and support youth sports in St. Louis County. I'd love to see our high school football games under Friday night lights again. We're not quite ready yet. Our spring, our summer, and now our fall continue to unfold in ways they've never been before. With diligence and patience paying off, we cannot let up. And sadly, we have sober reminders that this pandemic is very much here with us. COVID-19 has now taken the lives of more than 800 of our friends, relatives, neighbors, and coworkers. And another 24,000 St. Louis County residents have been infected by it. That includes dozens of our St. Louis County employees. This is very real, very contagious, and will be with us until we have a vaccine. Finally, I'd like to address the CARES Act grant that St. Louis County received from the federal government to help us respond to this pandemic. Of the $173 million received, we've budgeted all but $10 million of those funds to ensure the money is used to help those who need it the most. That was my commitment when we received the money, and that remains a priority today. At sclcorona.com, you can see where the money has been appropriated and where it's been spent. We're currently working with county municipalities to get millions into all our communities to help cover public safety and other costs associated with COVID-19. County employees are working diligently to ensure the money gets out the door in a responsible manner and that every dollar is spent and that it adheres to the guidelines outlined by the federal government. Thank you to everyone. This has been a long 7 months. Let's keep working together. It's an only successful path forward. That's all for now. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Dr. Page. As I mentioned, it was a little hard to hear you, but I trust that we can get a copy of your remarks and ensure that they are in the journal. So thank you. We will move to report of special committees. First
Madam-
up, oh, go ahead.
Yes, Madam Chair. Our first report this evening is the Committee of the Whole meeting held on Thursday, September 17th.
Receive, file, and the report dated September 17th, 2020 be adopted as submitted. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And moving on to the Justice, Health, and Welfare Committee,
Please
that
hold.
report,
Oh,
excuse me. No, that's okay. That report was dated September 15th. Go ahead, Councilwoman.
Yes, please hold. I had a couple of questions about the report.
All right, the report will be held. Councilwoman Dunaway is not here this evening, so there will be no special committee for oversight of COVID-19 funding and expenditures report. Moving on to the public forum. Madam Clerk, can you let us know how many comments we have? I know we've had a high volume of comments lately.
Yes, Madam Chair, we have 301 written public comments this evening.
All right. I know there has been discussion about the time required to get through all of our comments. Would you all like to move forward and hear all of the comments, or would you like to set some time limits as has happened over the past 2 weeks?
Madam Chair, I think
Councilman Harder.
Madam Chair.
I think I heard Councilman Harder first. Yeah, go ahead, Councilman Harder.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a recommendation that we listen to 2 hours of public comments and the rest of the comments that are not heard be put into the journal for public viewing. That's my motion.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Councilman Tracus.
Well, I don't want to speak before it's seconded. If we're going to have discussion on it, I'll wait for a second.
I'll second it.
Okay. If I may, Madam Chair, I did
Yes, go
not hear
ahead.
the administrator. I did not hear the administrator in terms of how many comments we had tonight.
301.
Okay. All right. I'll just reiterate my position that I think it's important to hear all the comments. And if we can't get through them in a reasonable time, we could recess and reconvene tomorrow and pick up where we left off and then complete the agenda. But I don't want to belabor that. We discussed that last week. So that's all I have, Madam Chair. Thank you.
I would be open to that suggestion as well. But we do have a motion that has been seconded, so I will go ahead and ask all in favor for limiting the comments to suspending the rules, suspending rule number 5, I believe it is, and limiting the comments to 2 hours.
That was not Councilman Harder's motion, though.
Would we need to actually amend the motion to suspend the rules?
I could amend.
Please do.
That we suspend the rules, rule number 5, to limit resident comments to 2 hours, and the remaining comments not read will go into the record for public viewing. That's my motion.
Second.
All in
Thank you.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, the motion carries. Before we get started, I want to address a few things. Many of you have asked over the past few weeks about why you don't hear from the council during comment. Our tradition is that this time is for the residents of St. Louis County to speak, and we hold that tradition pretty close. But as we move into public comment tonight, I want to acknowledge the continued anger, frustration, concern, and devastation that I am hearing from members of the community right now and over the past 7 months as we are all making sacrifices during this continued pandemic. I want to make a few things clear where I stand. The county's choice and mine has been to take steps to limit the spread of the virus. Just yesterday, we learned that globally we've surpassed 1 million deaths. The US has had the highest number of deaths out of all the countries. And out of 10 of those who are infected in the United States are children. Locally in St. Louis County, just over 800 people have died from coronavirus, which is still too many, but could be worse had local leaders not had the courage to make the decisions early on that they have made. The enemy is coronavirus. It's not the limits to sports, crowds, businesses, and restaurants. Confusing the two equates a temporary inconvenience with a temporary life-threatening illness. We're making short-term sacrifices for the long-term good of the whole. I do think there's a legitimate discussion to be had about the limits and the scope of them, but unfortunately, this discussion has been mired in partisanship, privilege, and racism, drowning out the most useful heartfelt messages with shouting. So as a reminder, as we move into the public forum, I do want to let people know of the rules to participate. Only comments sent to council comments at stlouisco.com on the day in which the meeting is being held, at least an hour prior to the meeting is set to start, will be recorded into the public record. The email must contain the commenter's name, and the email must be limited to 400 words or less, which is the equivalent of 3 minutes of verbal communication, which is what we allow at our in-person meetings. The administrative director or designee will read the comment out loud during the meeting, and it will be recorded into the journal along with the comments that we are not able to hear because we certainly have more comments than we will be able to read aloud during our 2-hour time frame this evening. So with that, Madam Clerk, please proceed to read the first comment.
Madam Chair, the first comment is from Max Robinson. My name is Max, and I am 16 years old. I used to go to school in the county, but this year I go to Sugar Salem High School in Sugar City, Idaho. When school closed in the spring, it was really hard for me. It's not that I don't have a lot of friends, I just don't hang out a lot outside of school. I like to see them at school. That was taken away. My favorite thing to do is go hiking and mountain biking at the parks, and that was taken away. I felt trapped. When school was announced it was going to be all online, I knew I couldn't do it. I need to be in school 5 days a week, and I begged my mom to help me find a different school. They looked at a lot of private schools, but we own our own business and we couldn't afford it, especially with everything being shut down and business being slow. I struggle with things and I'm on the spectrum just a little, but can handle things mostly. I just know how I learn and what my body and mind needs. I was getting depressed and sad. I needed to be in school for more than just school. I needed to do my activities for more than just the activities. These were all healthy things that I needed. My mom and dad agreed for me to live in Idaho with my aunt and uncle. I miss my mom a lot. It was really hard at first. She is brave to let me be here. Last weekend was homecoming. I went to our football game and then to the dance. I am happy and healthy. I'm scared to think about what I would be like if I was still there. There are kids like me that need to be allowed to be kids. Let them be kids. They are hurting and they are sad. Every kid from every background is affected by what is happening. I feel free for the first time in 5 months. I'm playing sports and going to dances and pep rallies with friends. It felt weird at first, but then I remember this is what I should be doing. Let my friends back home do it too. Please. Thank you, Max Robinson. My name is Kathy Cargill. I have a son who's a junior at LHS in Rockwood. He is an athlete who plays football and baseball. I think we need to limit Dr. Page's power to make decisions by himself. If he made decisions from his heart, even if I disagreed, I wouldn't be this passionate about his decisions. However, it is clear to me he is making his decisions based on his ego. He did not show up at one council meeting and clicked off the other council meeting when the letters were being read. That takes an arrogant person who is not making decisions from his heart. He's not willing to listen to the other's point of view, and that's wrong. The other thing is, why can't kids go to school at least hybrid? I'm a teacher, and I taught hybrid in the beginning of the year. Was I scared a little? Yes, especially since my sister died of COVID in May. However, once I stepped through the door, I felt safe. Everyone was wearing masks, socially distancing, and I'm a custodian now with my own cleaning spray. Now we're going back with all the kids, and I know I feel the same way. Let the other people contribute to the decisions besides Dr. Page so the kids can go back to being kids, whether it's sports or school. Thank you, Kathy Cargill. From Izora Liggins. September 15th, I requested information from Exec Page that I was entitled to under the Missouri Sunshine Law. Exec Page has misled me and other into thinking that he would bring transparency, accountability, and uphold the laws and Constitution regardless of who the offenders were. The Boeing Company is not an entity he wants to hold in compliance. The Division of Workers' Compensation is not an entity he wants to call into question. So as a result, I continue to suffer due to no fault of my own. Executive Page, who are you protecting? This governing body's first obligation to the people is to be defenders of the Constitution and ensure St. Louis County residents receive all benefits that flow from it, both on the federal and state levels. The tragic death of Michael Brown in 2014 was a real eye-opener for our region regarding race and inequality. Now in 2020, this is still the cry of the Black and brown families. September 15th, I expressed concerns about the unfair treatment that I have faced here in St. Louis County, in the courts, in the prosecuting attorney's office, and in the county executive's office. These are places residents should be able to go to seek help. On last week, I mentioned the problem I'm having with the CaseNet docket system. I reminded you all of the Department of Justice report that stated, in quote, careful consideration should be given to how lawyers are allowed to handle the docket electronically, end quote. I believe this system will become another tool in a bad lawyer's toolbox of tricks. My docket is always in question. On August 17th, in the matter of Liggins versus Lemley, the defendant's attorney filed a notice for hearing. When he emailed me the notice, it was a notice for hearing on a motion on the pleading, yet there is no motion on the record filed by the defendant. Counsel has alleged another filing that has never been filed. There must be immediate steps to put safeguards in place for unrepresented citizens to protect and educate us on the system and the pitfalls. Mailings should be sent to the unrepresented litigants for updates and changes during the pandemic. The judges should be clear on how and who has to use the Zoom system. This will be a good time for St. Louis County governing body to really get to know the St. Louis County people. Thank you. Excuse me. My name is Scott Vale, and I appreciate the council's time. I would like to voice my concern over the continued restrictions against youth sports. The data remains clear that youth sports are not the main source of the spread of this virus. It is clear in any data set that is reviewed that the main source of the virus transmission comes from uncontrolled social contact. Yet, for some reason, the county continues to punish our youth. While some steps were made last week to correct some past errors, there is still a lot left to do. It is very clear that there is no significant difference in, quote, low contact sports like cross country, where groups of students run in packs in close proximity to one another, and football or ice hockey, where a much smaller number of athletes remain in contact in much more open spaces. As far as the virus transmission is concerned, any reasonable person would draw the conclusion that any of these activities pose the same risk. The county has also stated concerns over long-ranging health concerns related to COVID. Those should now be dismissed, as every major college football conference now has plans to resume play immediately. As academic institutions, their access to updated health information is far-reaching, and their unanimous decision is to play. As far as spectators at athletic contests, one has to wonder why they are being limited to 50 people. Nearly every athletic venue in the county, inside or outside, 50 people would represent a capacity of somewhere between 5 and 10%. And these spectators would be following proven protocols like wearing masks and distancing. For some reason, the county feels it is acceptable to allow 25% of capacity in the uncontrolled environments of bars and restaurants. But 10% capacity at a large outdoor football field is not okay. One has to wonder why the assault on youth sports. After reviewing the facts above, I'm left to assume that it is for political aspirations of some on this council. It is time that we stop politicizing our children's livelihoods. It is time to be reasonable and allow play under the same circumstances afforded to bars and restaurants around the county. Our children are safer in the controlled environments that athletics offer. Our children are safer in the controlled environments that athletics offer than the uncontrolled social environments that are the alternative. Pardon me for that. The following from Kelly Nelson. If not now, then when? In March 2020, St. Louis County, as well as the rest of the world, closed for all intents and purposes. We were asked to stay home to flatten the curve. We stayed home because we needed to give the hospitals time to prepare to get proper equipment, establish a protocol that would be effective in treating COVID-19. We were never going to eradicate this virus by staying home. Over the past 6 months, the curve has been flattened, the numbers continue to drop, and we are still under your thumb. Should we really be surprised there are still positive cases of COVID-19? No. This virus is not going to disappear because we stayed home. The guidelines that have been established requiring families, teams, schools to close for 14 days to stop the spread have been adhered to for now, but how much longer? We simply cannot afford to take 2 weeks off from our lives, every time someone has a cough, cold, or flu-like symptoms. It's time to reopen the world. We must learn how to live with coronavirus. The easiest way with the least amount of risk is to start small and allow high school students who have not had drastically severe cases of COVID-19 requiring hospitalizations the opportunity to play in their optional games. Give students in the high school bands the chance to play. Give the student body a place to go and socialize with their friends. School events, especially those outdoors, can be controlled much easier than what the high school students are doing now. Kansas City schools have done this effectively with a ticket system for spectators. Store-bought goods individually wrapped from a concession stand. It's time. Stop trying to cement your feet into quicksand. We cannot afford to keep living this way, and it's time that our voices are heard.
From Kelly Nelson. From Lisa Riot. The ban on high school football is a decision not based on science or data. Please vote to limit the unilateral power of a county executive by approving Bills 222 and 223. At this point, this ban on high school football seems completely arbitrary and personal for Sam Page, which is why the oversight of these bills is necessary. Despite what he says publicly about, quote, following the science, There is no evidence that high school football is currently causing the spread of COVID-19 in St. Louis County. Every other county around the area is allowing football. Cities across the country are allowing it. Colleges are allowing it, and the NFL is having its season. Is Sam Page really the only one who understands the risks of COVID, or is he the only one not acknowledging the statistics of the risk? He includes 18 and 19-year-olds in his statistics, yet these are college students. Their infection rates should not be included in data used to make a decision for high school students. Additionally, there is no data that supports there being an increase in cases or hospitalizations for 14 to 17-year-olds due to sports. Sam Page is inconsistent by allowing most sports, but not football. It is impossible to control sweat and accidental contact in competition of any sport. If it is not safe for some athletes to play, it should not be considered safe for any athletes of any sport, including track, to play. Additionally, if it is not safe for athletes in one county to play, it should not be considered safe for athletes in any county to play. The city of St. Louis, St. Charles County, and Jefferson County are allowing sports. Why is St. Louis County not? Without concrete evidence that says our youth is being infected on the athletic fields, Sam Page's decision to not allow sports is arbitrary and excessively harmful to our student athletes. Additionally, athletes in other counties are being seen by college recruiters, but St. Louis County athletes are not, potentially preventing them from receiving college scholarships. Please vote in favor of Bills 222 and 223 so Sam Page has a check and balance system over his arbitrary and unnecessarily harsh executive orders, and please consider overturning Sam Page's latest ruling against high school sports. From Nancy Rorden. I hear over and over, follow the data. Unfortunately, in our time, there is someone willing to publish anything if it supports the narrative they want. The numbers do not lie. Numbers don't lie, but the people can selectively share them to tell a story to support their narrative. It is easy to dismiss someone that disagrees with you as fringe or crazy or uneducated. Yesterday, I even heard the term privileged. I've learned a lot about unconscious bias this year. I've examined my life in many ways. I've worked hard to learn about different sides of issues to examine the lens through which I look. I belong to a beautiful group of people from all political, racial, geographical, and financial backgrounds. 14,000 people that can agree on a single message. That is powerful. We don't all agree on who should win the national elections. We have friends that are teachers, nurses, and vulnerable people. We have lost people to COVID-19. Yet we all agree that the kids are losing. We all agree the county executive cannot have this power. My children will likely not have an athletic scholarship. I could send my kids to private school. I have help with distance learning full-time so I can work full-time. My kids can play all of their sports. My kids are now returning to school in person. I am privileged. Yet I am still here because this should bother us all. I've learned that just because I have everything I need does not mean it is time to stop working. This is the kind of disparity we've learned to guard against. We have all been frightened. Contradictory articles come out every day. Even the health professionals leading this pandemic have sent out mixed messages. Then the politics came into this. Is it a wonder that no one trusts anyone anymore? We need to protect the vulnerable and we need to move forward. Mistakes have been made. They need to be corrected now. We cannot sacrifice the kids to score political points. CARES funds should be used to ensure that all children can return to school and activities. They should be used to protect and educate the vulnerable population. They should be used to return healthy adults to work and life. Please vote to pass 222 and 223. No matter who our next county executive is, this office needs oversight. From Elizabeth Schwepp. I respectfully ask that you reveal what numbers you are looking for in order to open schools and sports. It is not enough to say the data is just not there. We need real numbers to work towards. You are giving us a final exam without telling us what to study. As of this morning, the data shows that 0 to 19-year-olds account for 0.9% of the COVID cases, with 0 deaths and 0 hospitalizations. How does this statistic warrant taking their futures from them? We have spent 7 months practicing social distancing, proper hygiene, and mask wearing. It is time to start living. We went from do not overwhelm our hospitals to we need a cure. Please start giving real numbers and real goals. From Kenneth Widger, I urge you to vote for Bills 222 and 223 tonight. We deserve to have our voices represented in county government. All children need to get back in school and back to all sports on their home fields in St. Louis County. Spectators need to be allowed. Businesses need to be able to get back to business. And from Kimberly Wickman, as I sat down this morning to write yet another letter expressing my concerns regarding the continued overreach in our St. Louis County Council, my first thoughts were, 1, I wonder if Council Chair Lisa Clancy will actually bother to show up for tonight's meeting, and 2, will Interim County Executive Page once again make the cowardly move of leaving the meeting the moment the first patron comment is read. The behavior displayed by several members of this council, including Lisa Clancy and Sam Page, is an absolute embarrassment. This type of behavior is more what you would expect to see out of a spoiled toddler that had just been told no than what one would expect from grown adults. Nevertheless, it is what the residents of St. Louis County have come to expect from the County Council. Yesterday, during Interim Page's weekly press conference, he spoke at great length about transparency. Transparency when it comes to COVID numbers, as well as the distribution of CARES Act funds. I had a difficult time not laughing during his poorly rehearsed speech. Transparency is clearly something Interim Page knows nothing about. For months, residents have asked for contact tracing results that Interim Page claims tie youth sports to the supposed rising COVID numbers. No results have ever been provided by Interim Page. Why? Because they simply don't exist? We as residents deserve transparency as well as oversight into how and why decisions are being made. Interim Page also made mention of, quote, special protection, end quote, and the need for him to, quote, make difficult decisions for our youth, end quote. As a parent, I would tell you that my children do not need nor want your, quote, special protection, end quote, and any difficult decisions that need to be made regarding my children will be made by me, their parent, not you, Interim Page. Finally, Interim Page spoke yesterday in his press conference about the steps that need to be taken for a successful path forward and how these had been 7 long months. I will have to agree with Interim Page there. These have been 7 very long months, mostly because of his continued ridiculous mandates. As far as the steps that need to be taken for a successful path forward, I think the majority of St. Louis County residents will agree that the first and most important step is ridding our county government of Interim Executive Sam Page.
Continuing with the comments, the next one is from Vanessa Metz. Thank you for your time and consideration. When COVID-19 first hit the U.S., we thought a significant portion of the population would die. Extreme measures and mandates were quickly put in place to prevent this. Good news, most of us didn't die, and we have had 0 deaths in ages 19 and under in the state of Missouri. We have learned so much more about the virus, have seen the data that does justify the mandates, and now we are dying a slow death. Small businesses continue to struggle and close. Many, especially the youth and those with special needs, suffer from isolation, depression, and anxiety. Important milestones and memories are being missed for high school seniors, but if we lived 5 miles away, they could have experienced those moments. St. Louis County lines have become the Berlin Wall of Missouri. No fountain sodas, no school for all kids, no sports for all kids, but if you are 14, you can play football, but not if you are 15. No spectators at games or limited spectators depending on how old the players are, but Sam's Club can be packed on a Saturday. Restaurants are not at full capacity, and the virus spreads if you stand up, but not if you are sitting down. The virus lives in churches and not bars, but only after a certain time. The mandates make no sense, are absolutely ridiculous. Data doesn't support the extreme measures. For months, we have repeatedly asked what the benchmarks are to have mandates lifted, and none are ever provided. It is time to knock the wall down and lift all of the mandates that seem to hurt the small businesses and children the most. We, the people, have spoken and are aware of the risks and have the right to make decisions for our families, ourselves, and small businesses. I ask the Council to please vote yes for Bills 222 and 223. Lisa Clancy should recuse herself from the vote as having a conflict of interest. Since she can go on vacation across state lines, I also ask to bring back the in-person council meetings. I leave you with a quote from George Orwell. Quote, "We know that no one ever seizes power with the intention of relinquishing it," end quote. Next comment is from Lindsay Burns. I am writing in support of Bills 222 and 223 that will restore oversight of council decisions to the entire council. The fact that one man has complete control over the entirety of St. Louis County is unreasonable, unconscionable, and simply unjust. Sam Page has become a dictator under the guise of saving us from ourselves. He, along with Lisa Clancy, Kelly Dunaway, and Ernie Trachis, seem to believe that we the people needs to be removed from our Constitution. It is time to restore the Council's ability to vote on matters that affect their constituents, especially since Sam Page can't even be bothered to participate in Council meetings. He's clearly demonstrated his lack of interest in what we the people have to say. I suggest that you, as Council members, pay attention, because we the people are beyond fed up with the annex of Sam Page and those operating at his right hand. We the people aren't willing to take it anymore. The next comment is from Jennifer Tegathoff. Sam Page, I've been trying to reach you. Left several messages, voicemails, and emails in regards to setting up a face-to-face meeting. After speaking with several commercial developers in St. Louis, they mentioned that they never have an issue getting on your calendar for zoning, TIF meetings, new business prospects, etc. Is back to school, back to sports not a priority for you? If you haven't already noticed, we are not backing down. We will continue to adapt and overcome your inconsistent restrictions, losing voters by the minute. Next comment is from Stephanie Kingston. Dear County Council members, I am asking for strong consideration to relax the spectator rules for youth sports. Our children need us and want us present. Can you imagine being 7 years old and looking in the stands for your mom only to see that she's not there because she wasn't allowed to be? We have already done enough damage to our kids by taking away their school, sports, and activities. Now, while these things are slowly coming back, let's now not take away their parents. When you put a cap on the number of spectators allowed, for example, the current 50 persons max rule, you put the family and organization in a horrible position, and many of them are now banning spectators altogether because they can't police the number of people coming and going. Wouldn't it make more sense to allow parental spectators with no cap on number of persons because some teams are larger in size than to keep all of us out of the rink, gym, or off the field and having us all huddle in one area trying to watch our kids through a small window, area, or etc. Allow us to all be in the facility so we can appropriately distance. Most of you have children. Can you imagine being asked to not watch them or being the 51st person to enter an area and therefore not allowed in? Please allow for each player to have 2 support people with no cap on number of total people. This will help take stress off of parents, facilities, and programs. After all, we are the people that you are supposed to be representing. Please hear us. Thank you. Next comment is from Sean Kelly. We have both in-person and virtual learning in our home. The in-person schools have proven that this can be done safely. Our virtual learners are fading fast. There is strong research that proves when you correlate movement with brain activity, it promotes healthy learning. Virtual learning is not healthy. Help our school districts make these choices without them being fearful of the government being over their head. Stop leading by instilling fear.
The following from Katie Geary, Lizzie Stanovsky, and Teresa Oswald. This request is for you to end the countywide mandate to wear masks, to lift capacity limits, end social distancing orders, and virtual education, restore youth sports, and yes, vote yes on Bills 222 and 223 today. We as rational, logical, adult citizens can decide for ourselves appropriate actions to take to keep ourselves and our community healthy. This virus has caused the death of 0.07% of people in our county. While each person lost is a tragedy, this number simply does not justify the type of mandates in place. We do not need mandates restricting our freedoms when our hospitals are not overrun and we have flattened the curve as you originally asked. Lift all mandates today and allow St. Louis County to heal from the hardships and the mandates have cost. Thank you. From Bridget Schmidt. The fact is that the high school age group 14 to 17 is under 1%. The facts are that 96 to 98% of everyone who gets COVID-19 recover. Everyone I personally know who have had COVID-19 have recovered, most only being sick a few days. I was terrified of COVID-19 in March and April. I thought that if I contracted COVID-19, it would be my death sentence. I blame the media for this. As time went on, most people were recovering. However, the media only aired those who died or were severely sick. If I wouldn't have started watching the published numbers and friends getting it and recovering, I would still be like many of those that the media and some in government are trying to scare. Doom and gloom need to stop being pushed by the media and our county. It seems they only televise those who are sick instead of the 96 to 98% who recover. They focus on the 2 to 4% because it increases their views. This should be replaced with the thousands who have recovered. Doom and gloom is bringing our country down as well as America, our county down as well as America. Several years ago, there was a horrible flu. Both my husband and I in our early 40s were bedridden, and several people died from this flu. Yet all the schools remained open, no shutdown of schools or sports, no masks, etc. Another year, my daughter tested positive for the swine flu along with teammates. That was a terrible flu as well as spread like wildfire, yet no shutdown. Why? Because most people recover. Same with COVID-19. The majority of people recover. Until all students are allowed to return to the classroom and restrictions are completely lifted on sports as well as all the mandates lifted, I can assure you that as a registered voter in St. Louis County, I will not be voting for Dr. Page or any elected official who does not support the return to living our lives. I can also assure you that neither will my husband as well as many friends. Yes, Dr. Page and the council's decisions are at the forefront of our conversations, and the actions are being noticed even by those without children in school. Lastly, I was extremely disappointed in Dr. Page's behavior in last week's county council meeting, departing before the public comments were read. This was very disrespectful to his constituents. Dr. Page's speak loud and clear to all of us. Bills 222 and 223 need to pass. And I ended that because it was over 400 words. From William Barnowell. I'm writing to inform you that I will no longer recognize the authority you seem to think you have. Your mandates affect those outside of the jurisdiction that you preside over and therefore restrict the rights of citizens whose lives you do not represent. That is a gross overreach. I will attend all of my child's games, whether home or away. I will be in the stands to support my child. So you better be willing to deal with that. I do not consent. # tar and feathers, William Barnwell.
And from Carrie Morrison. Please explain eating indoor without a mask, shopping in small stores with a mask, and the large number of things you can do indoors, but you won't let a parent sit inside a gym and watch a sport with a mask on and social distancing. Home team only, 2 per player is the least some are doing everywhere at college and high schools except in St. Louis County. From Darren Scotty. We want all our children back in the classroom and all back playing all sports. Let them learn, let them play. My children have asked that we move out of St. Louis County so that they can go to school and play sports because of your decisions. Think about that. Children wanting to move. Let my family make the choice for what is best for our children. End these restrictions. We urge you to support and pass Bills 222 and 223 as soon as possible. Update the mask restrictions. My business is not open to the public, but the requirements of having everyone wear a mask while inside, even though we are social distanced, is ridiculous. These mask restrictions need to be defined better. Dr. Page, we find it very disrespectful for you to leave the meeting last week just as public comments are about to be made. Are you not there to hear and serve the public and the taxpayers? We also want to know why the previous meeting, several council members, including Chair Lisa Clancy, had their cameras off during the reading of the public comments. We find that very disrespectful. We also do not find it appropriate the chair be held by Councilmember Clancy when her brother serves on Sam Page's election team. From Marla Fastenau. Here we go again. A lot of eyes have been opened after watching council meetings the last few weeks. Remember, Dr. Page, you didn't show up to one of them and decided to leave early when the patron comments were read last week. I'm curious as to what the new narrative is this week. Our overall positivity rate continues to hover around 5%, so you can't use that. The positivity rate in the 10 to 19-year-old age group is down 41% over the last 2-week period, so that is not helpful to your narrative. We have all figured out the positivity rate you reference in the 15 to 19-year-olds averages out to about 1 positive case per day out of 5 total kids tested. Oh, and you still have not addressed the 19-year-old college kids being in the data used to determine when high schoolers can return to school. Thank you, Council Members Fitch and Harder, for introducing bills that would help rein in the authority of Sam Page. Thank you, Councilmember Days, for supporting those bills. No individual should have sole authority on so many critical decisions without the backing of a governing body. Councilmember Tracus, I think we all were able to see politics at work the last couple of weeks. I pray you listen to your constituents. Councilmember Dunaway, it didn't look like virtual learning was going too well for your children a couple weeks ago, since they were constantly interrupting you with their computers in hand. You seem to be having a hard time listening to the patron comments. Councilmember Clancy, your behavior on the meeting 2 weeks ago was downright rude and disrespectful to your colleagues. You do realize we can see your eye rolls on the video during the meeting, right? It usually happens right before your aggressive drinking from your soda can. Councilmember Gray, please listen to your constituents. The children are suffering right now. Let your heart guide your decisions on what is best for the kids of our community. Don't play politics. They need the voice of another strong woman to support them. Change is hard. Change requires admitting that what we've been doing up to this point isn't working and that it's time to try something else. From Kathy Cave, Connor Cave, who is 15, Carolyn Cave, who is 12 years old, and Charlie Cave, who is 7. Please listen to the people you are supposed to be representing. We want school back. We want sports back. We want life back. The data shows that 0 to 19 are not dying. Let us make the decisions for our children. Open school back up. Let them play. And from Karen Gudgeon. Sam Page is overstepping and abusing his authority. The order for school and sports that Dr. Page has in place is unacceptable. Every other county in the state is in school and playing high school sports without a death. The power one man has over citizens with no check and balances in place is a dictatorship. The parents should be able to choose what is best for our children. Dr. Page makes mandates without valid data and recommendations from experts, including the CDC. Shame on this board for giving him the power, and today you should do what the voices of the voters expect and adopt bills to rein in this tyrant. The future of our kids and their mental health depends on you. Let them play.
The next comment is from Katie Nauman. The time to act is now. Sam Page has continued to use our children as political pawns and ignore science and data. Let them play. Please vote yes for Bills 222 and 223 to limit the power of the county executive, Sam Page. Thank you to the members of the council that sat through the public comments last week, as Sam Page didn't have the courtesy to listen to his constituents. He should be ashamed. Next comment is from Victoria Lesage. I am writing today to let you know that I do not want the vote on Bill 222 and Bill 223 to be delayed. I strongly believe that all kids should be allowed to play sports in St. Louis County, like St. Charles County has been able to do. Youth sports are an important part of children's lives, and organized sports benefit kids in numerous ways. In addition to reopening schools for in-person instruction, it is also important to allow our children to play organized sports. Our children deserve these opportunities to learn, grow, and socialize. I am confident that the members of our community can find a smart and safe way to do so in our current environment. Thank you. Next comment is from Amber Mueller. I am writing today to encourage you to vote on Bills 222 and 223 today. Please vote yes, and please do not delay. This has gone on long enough, and we all know that power needs to be distributed among the council, not left up to one person alone. There is too much at stake for our county, for our children, and for our futures, and we need the full council to be involved in decision making. Next comment is from Michelle DeSalvo. This was taken from KMOV. There is a growing concern about the rise in behavioral health and self-harm cases among children brought on by isolation caused by the pandemic, doctors say. Dr. Rachel Charney, a SLU care pediatrician at SSM Health's Cardinal Glennon Children's Hospital, joined Dr. Alex Garza, head of the St. Louis Metropolitan Task Force, to talk about this rising and concerning trend. The pediatric hospitals have been seeing an increased number of children coming in for help with acute psychiatric needs, both in our emergency departments as well as our inpatient psychiatric wards, Dr. Charney said. You have Dr. Alex Garza telling you that there is a mental crisis with our kids. Sam Page said he is no longer listening to the task forces, but instead only going to listen to the health department. Sam Page, you have blood on your hands. I hope that you wake up soon and realize you are jeopardizing kids' lives by not allowing them to go to school. Pediatricians and now Dr. Garza know what the true numbers are with COVID and say that our kids should be back in school. You have your own agenda, which includes the teachers' union. A lot of parents don't realize that the teachers' unions from different districts have sent letters to Sam Page stating they don't want to go back. They are a large group, and he knows that if he doesn't do what they want, they can vote him out. So anyone that says this isn't political It most certainly is. This is about my child and all children that are suffering at the hands of your nonsense. Members of the County Council, you also have a say in what is happening here, and some of you choose to side with Sam Page over the welfare of our children's lives. Any normal person knows the harm you and Sam Page are doing to our kids. It's disgusting, and frankly, I am not sure how some of you sleep at night. There are two new bills on the table, Bills 222 and 223, that must be passed to limit Sam Page's authority and to have checks and balances. You need to put political affiliations aside and do what is best for the children of St. Louis County, or blood is on your hands too. Next comment is from Laura Savis. I have sent in comments the past several weeks expressing my concerns regarding banning high school age kids from playing sports. Unfortunately, there are still a few groups of kids not allowed to compete. I will continue to fight for them until they are allowed to compete like all other kids in the state. I ask that you please reverse your ban right away, as time is running out for them to be able to play. I'll end with a poem I wrote regarding the current unjust situation in which the kids are stuck. Let them play. Here we sit another day, just wishing they would get to play, for it really isn't fair. Seems like you don't even care. This ban affects them deep inside, while their feelings they might hide. Their mental health, it suffers so, because you will not let them go. Others play across the state, but our poor kids still have to wait. So many opportunities gone by, so many just can't understand why. Even the city has changed their tune, and their athletes will play very soon. Please let your compassion show, and let our athletes play and grow.
The following from Travis Tate. I'm writing to show my disapproval of this board's decision to allow the county executive to run wild with federal money with zero oversight. This should never have happened, especially considering how our last county executive is in prison for crimes committed while in office. Please vote for the bills to get some control back away from him. Also, the county executive's lies have been exposed through the media and from many taxpayers on his insistence to not allow children to play sports in St. Louis County. Because of his own personal mandates on this, our children have been going out of the county to play. This is sending much needed tax dollars away from our county. His reasons for the mandate don't make any sense and are not in line with the rest of the state. Because of his actions and the actions of this board, us taxpayers have no choice but to vote against each and every one of you that are against our children. Good riddance to the Democrats on this board. Thank you. From Chris Hoffmeister. Delay tactics and making minor concessions to try and stop the unprecedented amount of backlash towards the county executive and certain members of the council are not fooling anyone. If anything, voters are more energized than ever before to shift the power in this county to those who speak for the people. Your constituents continue to demand accountability, consistency, and integrity from you. Please support any bills which provide checks and balances and prevent one person from arbitrarily dictating very specific details of people's lives. It is disturbing that a virus with a 99% survival rate has become the only consideration for making decisions. This myopic way of thinking ignores the significant damage that inconsistent and overly harsh restrictions does to the people you are supposed to be looking out for. This is not about everyone sacrificing together for the common good. If that was the case, casinos and bars wouldn't be open. One sport wouldn't be allowed to play, while a similar or clearly less dangerous sport would be prohibited. Neighboring counties and their more realistic guidelines would be falling apart, not doing similar or better to St. Louis County. Spectators would be allowed to spread out in large bleachers as opposed to crowding in an ice rink window to watch their children. In fact, spectator rules are currently inconsistent with rules for gathering of other types. How does this make any sense to any of you? Why are adult sports currently being held to a more strict standard than youth sports? When allowing games, why would only add officials to some sports? Those athletes are already competing. All the current guidelines are doing is preventing businesses and individuals from earning income. Stop stifling our economy. The county executive nor the council can make COVID go away by micromanaging people's lives until some of those lives are ruined. There are too many nuances you cannot take into account on your own. One person cannot make those decisions. You must put into place the kinds of checks and balances that Sam Page claimed there would be when he backed into his current position. The council is being urged by an unprecedented level of involvement in local government to do the right thing. Pass the bills that provide oversight to one single county executive. From Monica Widger. Please vote on bills 222 and 223 tonight. Public service has to be very difficult, but by definition, it is associated with a public consciousness. One person should not have sole discretion with so much at stake. I, at the very least, want a chance to have my voice heard. We need to get back to business, back to school for all ages, and back to all sports in St. Louis County. Fields needs to be open for competition with spectators. The inconsistency of guidelines is unconscionable. All the targeted shutdowns are having ill effects on kids and adults alike. The citizens of St. Louis County can make informed decisions for themselves about where they want to go or not when everything is open back up. Thank you. From Kevin Dillard. In creating arbitrary, unenforceable, and illogical restrictions on youth sports, the county is diminishing its credibility. Among the many problems is the spectator rule. Practically speaking, it is only enforceable by the honor system or by placing the burden on the coaches, many of whom are volunteer parents. I have been a volunteer coach for over a decade for my son's baseball, and I can tell you from personal experience that we have our hands full trying to give the kids a meaningful sports experience without being gatekeeper of numbers in the stands and rule enforcer on their attire. Furthermore, by not trying the number of allowed spectators to the overall capacity of a venue, you've created an outcome that doesn't make sense. For instance, upwards of 400 spectators could easily see a soccer game at a soccer park in Fenton or at any area high school football field and maintain a safe social distance. In contrast, there are indoor soccer venues that would be overly crowded with only 20 spectators. Trust the people who you govern to make responsible decisions. Don't condescend to us by mandating our personal behavior. We understand the necessity to social distance and wear masks. Your heavy-handed approach only creates confusion and a lack of confidence in the county's legitimacy. Ironically, there would likely be more compliance with the intended result if you would supply us with accurate information and encourage responsible behavior as opposed to promulgating these arbitrary and illogical rules. From Stephen Webb. Thank you for taking the time to read my letter. I'm a proud resident of unincorporated St. Louis County, but I'm writing to you today with great concern over current mandates and lack of transparency. I ask that you support Bills 222 and 223 today, and that we rein in the unilateral authority that is hurting kids in our community. I thank you for your leadership as an elected official, and I hope that you continue to listen to the concerns of myself and others in our great community. Thank you, Stephen Webb.
From Heather Nolting. As a lifelong resident of St. Louis County, I am deeply troubled by the continued mandates to county voters and their dependents under the authority of emergency powers. Our system of government is not designed to allow unlimited power, which has no time limit, in the name of perceived welfare, regardless of what the emergency may be. Do you all understand that, without limits to executive authority, abuses that you all may not agree with may unfold in the future? Limited executive authority and limits on emergency powers do not only apply to Sam Page's current mandates. I would ask all of you to please vote yes on Bills 222 and 223. It is time to limit executive authority and government overreach into the lives of your constituents now and in the future. Additionally, I would ask that all mandates be lifted immediately. It is time for individuals to have the choice of whether they feel a mask is necessary for them personally. It is time for parents to decide where and how their children should be educated and how their children should participate in athletics, music, and the arts for their own families. It is time for businesses, churches, and schools to be allowed to reopen without restrictions. It is time for the Department of Health to get out of my private business. It is time for this council to meet in person so that we, the people, can voice our opinions in person about how this council and Sam Page's mandates are impacting our lives and the lives of our children. Thank you for your time. From Marie Norton. I am a St. Louis County taxpayer and resident. I would like the council to please vote yes on Bills 175 and 176 to give oversight to the county executive. It is very important to have checks and balances in place for politics and for any financial matters. This country was built on democracy, and right now we are living in tyranny. One person should not be making decisions that affect millions. To Lisa CLANCY, you need to take yourself out of this vote. You have a conflict of interest with your brother being the campaign manager for Sam Page. You should not be allowed to vote on this matter. If you were of sound mind, you would step down and take yourself out of that vote. If Page actually shows up to the meeting and stays to hear this, well then pigs must be flying. Thank you for listening to the taxpayers Mark Harder and Tim Fitch. And from Dr. Patricia Parker. Mr. Page's words are meaningless as demonstrated below. Quote, I want to assure everyone in St. Louis County from the very beginning that we will have absolutely no tolerance for pay-to-play politics. End quote, Page said. Quote, no tolerance. We strive to set a new standard for ethical government, and we will be open and transparent so you can hold us accountable, end quote. A historic day. He appears to be unable and unwilling to admit he is wrong. His data was and is inaccurate. He is unable to listen to pediatricians across the country that say our children need to be in school and playing sports. So disappointed that such a man is in office. And from Richard Mueller. I am writing today to encourage you to vote on Bills 222 and 223 today. Please vote yes, and please do not delay. This has gone on long enough, and we all know that power needs to be distributed among the council, not left up to one person alone. There is too much at stake for our county, for our children, and for our futures, and we need the full council to be involved in decision making. And from Angela Montgomery. The county's policies are increasingly overreaching and arbitrary with no end game plan in sight. A national crisis can never be permitted to supersede the commitment to individual liberty and personal well-being that stands as the foundation of the American experiment. It is undemocratic to have emergency mandates imposed on the public by one person, especially one that was appointed and not elected. Policies impacting the county should be decided by a majority rule vote of all the county council members. Our government should be made up of those that reflect the desires of their constituents when it is not all faith is lost in the system. Please support Bills 222 and 223 and do what's right for your constituents by adding checks and balances to the county council. Do not further delay the process of addressing these bills.
The next comment is from Lori Mills. Another week has gone by, and the voting public in St. Louis County is becoming increasingly aware of a few key things. The council seems unwilling to provide oversight to the St. Louis County executive, willing instead to turn over all decision-making regarding the county's COVID response including the funding allocated via the CARES Act. This lack of checks and balances in our county government should be troubling to all voters, regardless of party affiliation, and is exactly why Sam Page is in place to begin with. The county council was criticized regarding lack of oversight during Steve Stenger's criminal dealings. It appears a few lessons were learned by this group. Many of our county leaders seem uninterested in the voices of their constituents. The actions of Sam Page in last week's meeting are as disturbing as they are insulting. Signing off the meeting prior to the reading of letters from the public is a slap in the face to our democratic process and is telling of the kind of leader this man really is. The COVID response as it relates to our children continues to be nonsensical, so devoid of actual data that the only reasonable assumption is that this is completely politically motivated. Page has not been forthcoming with data supporting these decisions, including data for the right age groups, 14 to 17 for high school versus the 19 data that continues to be quoted, data linking youth sports to any illnesses, or even data supporting the continued school closures. Here is some real data for the council. Mental health is an escalating crisis and is hitting our teens in full force. In one hospital in Fort Worth, Texas, 29 children were admitted last month after they attempted suicide. It is difficult to find this data for St. Louis, but I am hearing from medical professionals that we are experiencing the same issues. Every day that goes by that the county continues to hold children and parents hostage and continues this ridiculous overreach of power is another child falling behind in school, becoming more depressed, or even going hungry. All over the country, districts have returned to in-person learning. Kids are outside participating in the things they love, and communities are coming together to heal. St. Louis County is holding our children back. There is no data that supports any of these continued restrictions. Stop holding us hostage. Next comment is from Christine Hawes. Here we are 8 months into our 14 days to slow the curve, courtesy of dictator Sam Page. I hear all this whining about non-maskers in St. Louis County. But where are these non-maskers? You have forced everyone to wear a glorified paper towel that in fact protects us from nothing. Read the side of the box it comes in, and I quote, "This product is not sterile. It does not protect you from any virus, including but not limited to COVID-19. And yet you continue to destroy small businesses while Amazon, Costco, and Walmart have record profits. After 8 months, 2,000 dead out of 6.2 million Missourians in 8 months. This is not even double the number of yearly car fatalities in Missouri. Are you going to take our cars away? Not to mention the COVID count being questionable as to root cause of death or the fact that 90% of them were over 80 years old. You all act like people don't die. How many have died from heart disease in this same time frame? Over 4 times as many, that's how many. We should be mandating exercise plans, not masks and lockdowns for healthy people. Take the St. Louis Cardinals, for example. Struck down with the COVID. Did any of them go to the hospital? Die? No. I believe they are all back to work. You are so obsessed with little Johnny playing sports, you are failing the truly at risk who need you the most, the elderly. Of the current 1,068 hospitalizations statewide, what is the average age? 78 to 80? They continue to die in the greatest numbers. Why, you ask? Because you are not following your own protocols in nursing homes. You have no excuse for this. The healthy, law-abiding citizens deserve to be released from Tyrant Page's lockdowns and economically devastating small business mandates. Lisa Clancy needs to wake up and realize she works for her district and not Sam Page. So glad you had a nice vacation. Did you wear a mask the whole time, social distance, or of course quarantine for 14 days upon returning from a COVID hotspot? Your hypocrisy is growing by the day. Do as I say, not as I do. Dictator Page is teaching you well. Good luck, Dictator Page, in attempting to take away Halloween. Vote for checks and balances. Bring back democracy to St. Louis County. Next comment is from Jen Duffy. Dr. Page, I am writing in response to allowing all kids ages 14 to 19 to compete in all sports in St. Louis County. The real facts speak for themselves when you look at the data. Youth sports are not the issue at hand, and neither are socially distanced spectators. The city has lifted their ban, and now it is time for St. Louis County to do the same. Do you not see that many kids 16 to 18 have suffered emotionally from the effects of COVID? Sports help not only their physical well-being, but their emotional well-being as well. These kids that you are punishing have worked very hard to become the athletes they are today, and this could have a lifelong effect on them. By not allowing these sports competitions to take place, you have any idea on how much money the St. Louis County is losing? I cannot begin to imagine the money being missed out on scholarship opportunities for these athletes. They do not have the opportunities that other athletes in our own state have. Do you really want what is best for our county, or are you just too worried about your ego at this point? Do the right thing and please give the public accurate facts that support your reasonings. Please look further into your decisions on the restrictions you have placed on sports. Next comment is from Jody Johnson. This afternoon, my freshman daughter will play in her first high school field hockey game. She has been working for years for this day. Due to your arbitrary spectator rules, her parents will not be there supporting her. I guess we should be happy that she is allowed to play. However, this situation just makes me angry. There is no scientific reason to support limiting spectators at outdoor sporting events where social distancing is possible. You have no right to take this experience away from her or us. Yesterday, my daughter was off school. She spent the day at a friend's house and then went to hit the field hockey ball with another friend. When I picked her up after work, she told me that day was the most normal she had felt in months. This makes me sad for our kids. They need to get back to normal life. They all need to be in school. All sports need to be played. This virus is not going away, and we need to get on with actually living. Let parents decide what is best for their kids. This is not, nor should it be, your decision. Vote on Bill 222 and 223. Do not delay. Sam Page needs to be controlled. Next comment is from Ken Peters. I'm writing to you to voice my disapproval of Sam Page's mandate on youth sports in St. Louis County. It is very difficult for many of us to understand this decision and your continued support of this mandate. Locking down was meant to flatten the curve only, and we have done that. All of the numbers are going down, and it's time to reopen with precautions. New information is being reported every day, and as a country, we have made many mistakes. But the numbers are in, and there is nothing to support your mandate. Sam Page only references positive test rates, but there is new information regarding cycle thresholds that you need to investigate. As it turns out, our testing procedure is flawed, and we all know that even if a person under 19 tests positive, they have a very small chance of exhibiting symptoms. The death rate for people under 19 are less than 1%, and the hospitals are in fine shape. The threat of to an older relative is always a concern, and as a responsible community, we can take these precautions upon ourselves. Most importantly, while we all argue about this, the kids are suffering. I'm sure we all agree that physical activity and social involvement is paramount to our kids' overall health. They have been locked up for 6 months, and they need sports, and they need to return to school. Thank you.
The following from Carolyn Rodefeld. This request is for you to end the countywide mandate to wear masks, to lift capacity limits, end social distancing orders, end virtual education, restore youth sports, and vote yes on Bills 222 and 223 today. We as rational, logical, adult citizens can decide for ourselves appropriate actions to take to keep ourselves and our community healthy. This virus has caused the death of 0.07% of people in our county. While each person lost is a tragedy, this number simply does not justify the type of mandates in place. We do not need mandates restricting our freedoms when our hospitals are not overrun and we have flattened the curve as you originally asked. Lift all mandates today and allow St. Louis County to heal from the hardships and mandates the mandates have caused. Thank you. Excuse me, from Kara Scher. No more niceties, lift all the mandates. We aren't listening to your, expletive anymore. St. Louis County residents are done with Page and the council's decisions. The science doesn't support your unconstitutional power-grabbing mandates. We are taking our health into our own hands and bypassing anything you've suggested in the past and anything you may try to suggest in the future. Your power grab is over. From Tracy Bennett. Please create some oversight on this council and respond to your constituents. Kids need to be at school. Also, the arbitrary rules on sports needs to end immediately. There is no reason I should have to drive to O'Fallon to watch a soccer game. Tracy, mother of 2 student athletes. From Melanie Broyles. I'm writing to implore you to vote yes on Bills 222 and 223. The people of St. Louis County elected our council members to represent us. The fact that Dr. Page doesn't want oversight is literally a red flag in itself. As council members, he took away your voice. This is not about party or partisan politics. This is about you and your district having a voice. Why would you give that away? Please vote to get this situation under control. The students of St. Louis County need you to step up for them. They need to be in the classroom. They need to be on the field, the stage, the choir room, the sidelines, and the art studio. They need to be involved in whatever it is they do. All of these sports and activities teach our children so many skills. The increase in mental health issues among school-age kids is being ignored by Sam Page. The future of St. Louis County, our schools, our home values, and our businesses are at stake. Mark Harder, please vote yes. Tim Fitch, please vote yes. Ernie Trachis, please vote yes. Rita Hurd Days, please vote yes. Kelly Dunaway, please vote yes. Rochelle Walton Gray, please vote yes. Lisa Clancy, please vote yes. The people of St. Louis County are watching. Do you have the courage to stand up for what is right? Do you have the courage to work together? Do you have the courage to have a voice in the process? Some of you will, some of you won't. We are watching and will vote accordingly. From Aaron Clippy. This is not just about school and sports. This is about life. Our kids need back in school and back to their normal lives. None of us like COVID-19, but it is here. It's a virus that can be extremely catastrophic for the elderly and the others at a high risk for sure. But I have to question, what is the end game? Waiting for a vaccine to eliminate this virus is simply not an option. How do we resume normalcy? The horrific mental health, physical health, and financial devastation in our community currently far outweigh proceeding with life, especially for those most academically vulnerable with safety procedures in place. It is not up to you solely to make the decisions on how best to protect our families in the county from a virus. It's up to each family. Please think about what you are doing. All too many of the kids are falling behind in education with little chance of catching up. Education is a building block. How many kids will need to fall substantially behind before action is taken to resume class and sports at all levels? I'm sure in your mind you are doing what you think is best for the high risk, but at what cost to our children?
From Julie Graham. County Council, support Bill 222 and Bill 223. Your constituents have made themselves very clear, and it is now time for you to listen to them. We need to balance health and safety as our priority, along with the needs of our small businesses, our children's education, and our children's extracurricular activities. Support Bills 222 and 223 that provides input from all of our elected leaders on these important decisions that impact our community. You represent all of the people of St. Louis County, not just your political party. From Nicole Maddock. To whom it may concern, over 92 local pediatricians think kids should be in sports in school. Do you disagree with them? Why are you sacrificing our children's well-being for a virus that rarely affects them? Do you not care about depression, suicide? Do you not care about kids who struggle virtually? Do you not care about kids who will get no parental help as they learn? Do you not care about educational disparity widening? Do you not care about kids for whom school is their safe place? Cities everywhere are allowing in-person school and sports. People in St. Louis County are traveling outside the county for sports just to circumvent your oppressive, arbitrary rules. What science do you have to support that mass congregation of people in outdoor restaurant space is less dangerous than parents socially distancing at an outdoor sporting event? See? Arbitrary rules. It's questionable as to whether this is even a pandemic anymore. Not one hospital is overrun. Time to protect the vulnerable and get healthy people back to living as they have in every previous year alongside threats of viruses like the flu. Oversight is desperately needed. Please vote on Bill 222 and 223. They must not be delayed. From Jennifer Reiser. I am requesting the council vote yes for the bills 222 and 223 introduced by Mr. Harder and Mr. Fitch, which remove the unlimited power from the Health Department and Sam Page. Thanks to Mr. Fitch and Mr. Harder for these bills, which need to be passed. When are the county council meetings going to be back to in person? Our voices are not being heard. Maybe Sam Page would feel more inclined to come and or stay, listen to us personally, since he doesn't seem to have the time or care to listen to all of our emailed comments. Ms. Clancy, why are you not allowing in-person meetings? It is past time to lift all mandates and allow St. Louis County to heal from the hardships these mandates have caused. The St. Louis County-wide mandate to wear masks needs to end. Children should absolutely not be masked. Parents are more than capable to make the decision to whether or not they want their child to go to school and or participate in sports. All children should be able to go to school and participate in sports if they want. We, as rational, logical, educated adult citizens, can decide for ourselves appropriate actions to take to keep ourselves, our children, and our community healthy. The survival rate of this virus simply does not justify the type of mandates in place. We do not need mandates restricting our freedom when our hospitals are not overrun. It is time to do what is right, logical, and ethical in the county of St. Louis. Lynn, can you take over?
Continuing with a comment from Carly Cool. I'm a high school senior athlete. In November, I will be 18 in time to vote. Lately, I've become so frustrated with politics. Why does one man get to make final decisions that negatively impact thousands of people? I watch as my friends in neighboring counties have been playing sports for weeks now. Why do they get to have their parents cheer them on and celebrate senior night, but we don't? Why is my mom allowed to go to the grocery store and the mall, but she can't sit in the big gym of my high school? The no spectator decision is arbitrary, illogical, and unfair. High schoolers in St. Louis County have been suffering in many ways the last several months. We need more people in power looking out for us. Please come together as a group to talk more rationally through these decisions. Vote today for Bills 222 and 223. Please help us. Next comment is from Annie Beatty. I am yet again writing the council about my concerns regarding Sam Page's abuse of power that directly affects our family in St. Louis County. I am an attorney and mother of 3 children in 7th, 9th, and 12th grades. His arbitrary rulings now allow my 12th grader to play field hockey with a 50-fan limit on an outdoor sport, my 13-year-old son to play ice hockey, and my 15-year-old son not allowed to play hockey or football, unlike the rest of the state and, frankly, country. You, despite being a doctor, have not taken into consideration the mental and physical health of our children and teens. The data shows the spreading is not occurring at these places, yet you continue to back yourself into a corner. Why don't you place a 50-person limit on the indoor casinos or other ridiculous places you still allow to operate while punishing our youth? I sincerely hope the rest of the council, despite Ms. Clancy, who is your puppet, will rein in your power with their newest bills. You have never won an election for the county executive, merely the primary, and the power you are laying over this county is despicable. History will not remember you well. The next comment is from Beth Schneider. Dear councilmen and women, first I want to acknowledge you. I appreciate the work you do for us. Thank you. I believe during this time of the pandemic, some light has shed on us, showing us where improvements can be made. We live in a great area with great support, but with a few changes it can be better, more united. I believe that our leader Sam Page is not working with us, but above us. Why or how has this happened? Well, we haven't had an issue arise where changes needed to come in play. Now we see how we are impacted with the way things have been set up. To continue to be better, we have to admit our faults and to make that step to change. We teach our children this daily, so why are we exempt? I am in full support of Bill 222 and Bill 223. I encourage you to also direct your power to accept it today. We all know we don't want a dictator in office. Why not look at how to stop that? If you don't believe Sam Page is one, that's your opinion, but reality is all the power shouldn't be given to one person. Look at the flip side. When we vote Sam Page out, are you saying it's going to be okay to give all this power to the next county executive? Do you really want that? On a side note, thankful some of our children are able to play sports, but we need all back on those fields and courts. We need our kids back in school, period. If people want to choose not to participate, that's their choice, but the ones that need it, let them choose to have it. People talk about bars and casinos being open, but also look at the mall. I was at West County Mall the other day and the food court was full. No masks because people were eating. Makes sense? Absolutely not. How can we have that and not the other? Answer that for me. Seriously, answer that for me. Thank you for taking the time to hear me. The next comment is from Cynthia Nutwell. This email is written in favor of passing Bill 222 and 223, which should be voted on without delay. Our family lives in Chesterfield and our boys, 8th grade and 11th grade, attend a private school in town and country. Thankfully, their middle and high school have been COVID-19 free with no cases since starting the school year, August 31st. They're following all county health guidelines to the letter. The school has worked extremely hard to ensure all wear masks and social distance is occurring 5 days a week so students can attend all day. It's taxing to wear a mask all day, but they are doing it without complaint. They are so grateful to be in school, and it's positive for both their mental and physical well-being. All schools should be open in the county. All students should go to school in person, not online, which is not a substitution. All sports should be open for play without restriction. Hashtag let them play, all of them. All parents should be free to attend any and all competitions without exception. Any executive orders or decisions that stipulate only some sports and some students should attend school or sports are highly discriminatory and require oversight by a full county council. I choose to send my boys to school on August 31st, and they are thriving. Please let these big decisions impacting the community be decided by the full county council. Next comment is from Deborah Mayer. I have learned more over the past few months about local government and the politics involved in it all than in my prior 52 years. What I have learned all comes down to this. No one person, be it Sam Page or whoever, fills the position of county executive after, be it Sam Page or whoever fills the position of county executive after him, should have the power and control to dictate the lives of the people he or she represents and is supposed to be serving. What has happened over the past several months as a result of Mr. Page's ability to make unilateral decisions without check and balance measures in place screams for a change in how our local government is structured. No one person should be allowed to distort data to support his or her personal agenda like Mr. Page has been doing. No one person should be allowed to make decisions that cause our local small businesses to be forced out of business at an alarming rate, like Mr. Page has been doing. No one person should be allowed to make decisions and mandates that cause the leadership of our public schools to be fearful of not receiving the funding gathered from the taxpayers, from the county executive if they make decisions for their schools and students that go against the county executive mandates, like Mr. Page has been doing. No one person should be allowed to stop our kids from playing sports, jeopardizing their mental and emotional health, as well as potential college scholarships like Mr. Page has been doing. No one person should be allowed to shut down the county he or she is supposed to be leading while all other counties around them flourish, like Mr. Page has been doing. No one person should be allowed to make decisions that have this big of a negative effect on my children, like Mr. Page has been doing. It's time to put a stop to all this. You, the members of this county council, have the ability to put legislation into place that prohibits any one person from having this much control and power. You owe it to the people of St. Louis County, who have elected you, to stop the madness that we have been experiencing these past several months. No one person.
The following from Andrea Kuehl. Please do not delay Bill 222 and 223. The recent restrictions are harmful to our high schoolers and their families. Please don't let Sam Page continue making decisions without collaboration from the council. Please make the right choice to let our kids play and their parents watch. High schoolers are struggling. They've already missed out on so much. The decision not to allow parents at volleyball games is illogical and cruel. Clearly, we can safely sit on bleachers wearing masks while social distancing. Our coaches and our athletic director agree. Over the summer, we made countless trips to St. Charles for basketball and baseball games. The fact of the matter is, so have many families in St. Louis County. This Friday, my son wants to drive 45 minutes to watch his high school play a football game out of the county. I worry about him and the other high schools getting in a car accident making that drive. I do not whatsoever worry about him getting COVID. The CDC has posted the survival rate for kids 19 and under is 99.997%. For those 20 to 49, it is 99.98%. I'm a good parent. Please let me decide what is best for my children and my family. From Todd Machuchik. You can correct a mess that has been created not only by Dr. Sam Page, but your own council. The politics of it all is sad to see, and at the end of the day, your constituents and their families are left to suffer. The taxpayers suffer. Payoffs of harassment suits are being exposed. Backdoor deals and alliances of the council are being exposed. Your inner arguing is being exposed, and you should all be ashamed. You have turned St. Louis County into a laughing matter in the metro area. While this is going on, families, teams, players, funds are leaving St. Louis County and being spent in neighboring counties and hurting local businesses. Public school districts are now turning their backs on you, and they know what's best for our children. Kudos to them for standing up for what is right. Stop the damage and pain you are causing to so many. Please pass Bills 222 and 223. It's not about politics. It's about letting families decide what is right for them, and that nobody should have supreme power to dictate what's right for one family or another. Come November, Dr. Page will see what his constituents think, and he will be voted out for not listening to them and abusing his power as an appointed, not elected official. From Shannon Klein. It is time for the council to realize that our children need school and sports back into their lives. I've watched one of my children lose their fire and excitement, and it has been replaced by worry and anxiety. This, in my opinion, is due to the virtual school and absence of sports. I've always been proud that I live in St. Louis. Raising my two children here has been an absolute blessing. But right now, I'm disappointed. We are squashing their spirit. Make the right decision. Do not delay the bill 222 and 223. They must be voted on. From Sarah Clark. Thank you for your movement in helping getting our community back to school and sports. We have come a long way, but there's still a long way to go. I'm asking you to please vote to distribute some of the power of the county executive to the people by allowing elected council members to vote on issues after a certain number of days. We live in a republic, which means the power is held by the people. This means decision-making can and should be done by the elected officials on the council, not by just one man. In a season where politics is muddled with a lack of facts and integrity, let's be better. Let's get back to being a transparent group that works for the good of all. Thank you for your time. Sincerely, Sarah Clark. From Michael Sluss. Again, here we are wasting time on the council meeting trying to get the council to do the right thing. This mandate has gone on long enough with no end in sight due to Sam Page not giving any All right, I'm going to read this. Not giving any of us gates or end data as to when these will end, or real fair data as to where we are now, just the same old rhetoric of spouting fear that causes many county citizens to shake their heads and wonder what is going on, and pitting neighbor against neighbor. Can you say transparency? You seem to say it a lot, but no data to the citizenry of St. Louis County. Please listen to your constituents and vote yes on the end of tyranny. Your voter base is watching and listening. Open up the county, follow the city's lead. We can decide what our children need.
From Robin Rusing. I hope you all, 1, actually show up to this meeting, 2, stay for the duration, 3, can even just pretend that you are paying attention, 4, do your job and address some of the questions that have been raised. What happened to flattening the curve? What is the benchmark for allowing kids back to school, back to sports? Why are 19-year-olds including in data? I think it's included in data for high school sports. Why are playgrounds allowed to reopen without restrictions, but sports are not? Why can parents watch their kids on the playground but not at an athletic field? Why is an ice rink restricted on spectators but the casino next door is open to the public? Why would the level of sports contact dictate whether or not they can have spectators? Why is lacrosse and field hockey moderate risk and ice hockey high risk? Most importantly, why are you allowing one man to make all decisions with no oversight? Please vote yes on Bills 222 and 223. The superintendents, athletic directors, coaches, and parents know what is best for our children in regards to school, sports, and other activities. You decide what is best for your families and let us do best for ours. Thank you to Council Members Fitch and Harder for your hard work. I am sorry that my representative Ernie Tracus betrayed you and all of us when we were counting on him to represent his district. Thank you for Council Member Days for supporting the previous bills. Let them play, let them watch. Mark Etherington. My daughter has been working so hard since she was 8 just so she could play field hockey in high school. As a freshman, she made the varsity team and will thankfully get a chance to hit the field tonight for her first game. Sadly, I will not get to watch her play. I can't tell you how much that hurts me and my daughter. I have been to every single sporting event to cheer her on, and tonight, for one of the most important moments in her life, I will not be there. These mandates have no scientific data to back them. They play outside on a huge field where social distancing would not be a problem for 200 spectators, let alone the 60 it would probably draw. Please vote on 222 and 223 tonight. Do not delay, and please approve it. These kids have suffered enough, and this virus is not going anywhere. Let the parents decide what is best for their child. Let them play and let them go to school. From Kelly Travis. Please vote yes for bills 222 and 223 introduced by Harder and Fitch that would remove unlimited power from the Health Department and Sam Page. Please remove all remaining restrictions on youth sports. Let all youth ages participate in all volunteer sports if they want. Please encourage school superintendents to reopen all ages of school for in-person learning with a virtual option for those who need/prefer it. From Donna Young. To who it may concern, I am writing to ask the Council to please vote yes for Bills 222 and 223 and any other bill related to this matter. Please lift all mandates. No more phases for sports. Let all kids participate in volunteer sports and let parents choose what is best for our children. Please bring back in-person school. Virtual learning is not working for students or teachers. Please allow parents to go watch their children participate in sports. Again, it should be their decision whether or not to go to an event. Please open up business to full capacity. Our retail industry is hurting and our economy is worsening. By not allowing any of these things to happen, you are forcing us to go outside the county in which we love and have worked and lived to spend our money elsewhere. Please listen to all of the people that are begging you to let us live. Rick Hughes. The total disregard the county has shown for our children is repulsive. Your false flags about a disease that has little to no impact on the well-being of children sickens me. In pushing our children away from school and sports, you are pushing them in the direction of things far more dangerous than COVID. Keeping them from their normal activities and isolating them from their teachers and friends will have negative impact on their lives long after COVID. When you take everything from them, what do you leave with them? What do you leave them with? Children's suicide rates are high enough without those appointed to protect them, forcing loneliness and depression on them. Shame on you for bowing to the minority when the majority feel your decisions have done far more harm than good. Christina Cole. I am begging you to please vote yes on Bill 222 and 223. My son is a senior, former football player at CBC. I say former because as of Monday, September 28th, he had to quit the team. You may wonder why, as we have all heard the schools that agreed to play. You may wonder why, as we have all heard the schools that agreed to play in outside areas. Well, the conditions that went along with this were to go to 100% online learning and to quarantine the entire season plus 14 days. My just turned 18-year-old son had a tough decision to make. Being his senior year, he has worked hard to earn that starting position on varsity. The problem is he has 3 advanced placement classes. He had to make a very grown-up decision that he honestly should never had to make. He had to give up the idea of playing in college and playing his final year as a varsity starter so that he could give 100% to his academics. He realized that being home 100% of the time, he would not honestly get college-level material in that setting. I beg that you please vote yes, so that no other child has to make a decision like this. Please give all kids a chance at their dreams. Thank you for your time. And from Chris Hansen. I am asking for you to support and vote today to pass Bills 222 and 223 by Fitch and Harder to amend Title VI, Chapter 600, and Title VII, Chapter 703. I recently was able to see the data that no longer counts the 19-year-old age group in St. Louis County, and if I was not angry before, now I am. I listened to the Sam Page briefing on Monday, and he implied that we need to have the standards that NFL teams have in place before we can resume football in St. Louis County. Unrealistic expectations for a situation that does not warrant that type of oversight. Sam is moving the goalposts back each week to handicap the youth high school football players that follow the rules in St. Louis County. I support the great schools of St. Louis County, and I find a benefit in staying local when it comes to education. I see that my children are being left behind by their counterparts in other parts of Missouri based on the lengthy restrictions that have been in place on our youth in our area. I feel forced to reconsider where we will send our children in 2021 so that they can continue to benefit from a well-rounded education and athletic opportunity. I ask that you support to amend the drafted proposal by Fitch and Harder so that I can continue to invest in our local St. Louis County economy and keep my kids close to home. Time for change in the midst of the challenge that COVID-19 has placed on all of us. Let's move forward with reinstating fall sports and in-person education as a sign of strength that together we can all unite. Thank you for your time, St. Louis County Council.
Next comment is from Ron Hobbs. I have been a coach for over 30 years. For most kids, their 4 years of high school is the pinnacle of their competitive sports experience for their entire lives. This is a very important time for them. It's sacred. They won't get this time back. Please reconsider the current youth sports restrictions. There are football players, hockey players, and other athletes all across St. Louis County practicing every day, just hoping for the opportunity to compete. Basketball is on the horizon with hundreds of high schoolers hoping to play. Many of them are seniors, and this will be their last chance to play. If the restrictions are changed now, there's still time to salvage the season. Thank you. Next comment is from Ed Golterman. Dear council members and executive page, the Sunday Post-Dispatch gave you a stunning opportunity to relieve property owners and shoppers in St. Louis County of the zoo museum's tax burdens. Our property and now sales tax have grown these institutions into tax-exempt businesses. Our $75 million a year does this. You have experienced in the media more than hints of corruption and misuse of tax money in and around Forest Park, but never indictments and prosecution. They operate profit centers under not-for-profit protection. You have seen the zoo and museums gang up on Muni year after year and squeeze it to death. Muni was a regional asset of the highest value and must be again. With the county executive, craft a strong withdrawal document. We are not to be taxed by these charlatans this year. In addition, please determine how much of our money has been misused and go after a lot. Thank you. Next comment is from Corey Allbrand. I support Bills 222 and 223. Next comment is from Cheryl Haney. Mental health is a real issue, and I am struggling with all of the COVID mandates as both of my 15 to 19-year-olds are seeing psychiatrists for the first time in their lives. One with social anxiety that has gone over the top with online education. Our second student is struggling with depression as a 2020 senior and now spending money as a college freshman with so many mandates. Please vote yes for Bills 222 and 223. Please lift all mandates. No mask mandates. No more phases for sports. Let all children participate in volunteer sports if they want, with spectators. No building capacity limits. Let places of businesses go back to full capacity. If you don't want to go out, you don't have to. All schools should be open. Next comment is from Amy Ninehouse. Please put the decision to compete in the schools, parents, and athletes' hands, not in Sam Page's. Reduce his authority. Your restrictions are crippling St. Louis, crippling schools, and crippling student athletes. Sam Page released adults to fully play all golf tournaments. Why not teens? Did he have a tournament he wanted to play in? My assumption, Mr. Page, is that you have likely played a round or two recently. Did you ride in a cart with someone else, reach your hand into a shared cooler for a drink, rake the bunker, take out the flagstick, hang out in the 19th hole after? Because if so, you are playing golf in a much more dangerous way than youth golf tournaments are being played. In youth golf now, walk, no carts, never within 6 feet apart, no handshakes, no rakes, no touching the flag, no beverages provided, must socially distance when warming up and putting, must leave after round. The state of Florida is now released with 0 COVID restrictions, but my daughter is not released to play golf outside the St. Louis region with her team. She played in an American Junior Golf Association tournament this weekend in Richmond, Missouri with 144 players. She played in a USGA tournament yesterday in Farmington, Missouri with 100 players. Whether you are in a tournament of 500 players or match with 10 players, you still only compete against 3 other golfers at a time on a wide open golf course and never touch each other. Spectators are spread out over 100 acres. Consider that allowing sports is actually the way to keep our kids safe. With safety protocols, they are significantly more safe than canceling sports, leaving kids to seek alternate socialization outlets, and leaving these teens depressed. 1. Please put the decision to compete in the schools, parents, and athletes' hands, not in Sam Page's. Reduce his authority. 2. 0 cases documented in St. Louis of athlete-to-athlete transmission during competition. 3. 92 top St. Louis pediatricians all support kids back in school and sports. 4. MSHSAA released all sports across the state. Let all sports immediately start full competition, including games, tournaments, and out of region. Youth sports safely played all summer. They already have protocols in place for safety.
The following from Don Hines. Those masks are dirty bacteria collecting sick rags. I see them on the floor and grounds in every block, just disgusting like a dirty diaper or tissue. It's time to remove the mandate. This request is for you to end the countywide mandate to wear masks, to lift capacity limits and social distancing orders, end virtual education, restore youth sports, and vote yes on bills 222 and 223 today. We as rational, logical adult citizens can decide for ourselves the appropriate actions we need to take to keep ourselves and our community healthy. This virus has caused the death of 0.07% of people in our county. While each person lost is a tragedy, this number simply does not justify the type of mandates in place. We do not need mandates restricting our freedoms when our hospitals are not overrun, and we have flattened the curve as you originally asked. Lift all mandates today and allow St. Louis County to heal from the hardships the mandates have caused. Sincerely, Donald Hines. From Lance Moore. This is my third letter to the council. The first two have not been read, and in both cases, the county executive either didn't attend the meeting or left during the abbreviated comments readings. I have a child in the Rockwood School District who can't go to school, and while she's able to play her sports, her mother and I aren't able to watch her based on facility rules that are being drafted based on fear of this council's repercussions. There is zero data behind these decisions to limit sports and attendance to sporting events. Capping a soccer game at 50 attendees when it is a giant outdoor soccer complex where people can wear masks and spread out is much like not letting kids in school, no data behind it. I'm asking for a vote on bills 222 and 223. No more politics, no more posturing. You are elected representatives that are supposed to represent us, and you most definitely are not. From Darren Pettis. Respected council members. I personally can attest to seeing my two children struggle these past months with increased isolation. My high schooler in particularly was affected. Spring sports were canceled, and I quickly could see the impact. We participated in summer sports, thankfully. We traveled to Indianapolis for the first tournament, and when we got in the car to come home, I was paying close attention to my child's demeanor because their team did not play well and went 1-3 for the first weekend. My child got in the car and said, "Dang, that was fun." There was energy and enthusiasm in that voice again. Our children's mental and physical well-being is important, and it is time for both sports and school to begin. Council members, no individual person should have the weight of the decisions like Sam Page currently has upon himself. It's too controversial to be in the hands of one. Second, we need balanced decision-making and a council to ensure fair and balanced information is being used to make decisions. Please give balance to our county government and more involvement to your position by voting in favor of limiting the power of the county executive. From Susan and Trey Luina. First of all, thousands of St. Louis and surrounding counties demand that Sam Page listen right now as these emails and letters are being read. His absence is unacceptable. With that in mind, Dr. Page. We deserve the freedom back that allows us as Americans to raise our children and make decisions that are best for them. Children are gifts from God that we simply have the privilege to raise for a short time on this earth, and that time is precious and fleeting. Every single day matters to us. There are no risks to our children that we as parents cannot handle. Again, freedom demands it. We request the council vote yes on bills 222 and 223. From Amy Eichmann. Excuse me. I support Harder and Fitch bills 222 and 223. A big thank you to those who have already voted for oversight. To the others, you have another chance to get it right. Ernie Trachis, throw your bill in the trash where it belongs and vote with Harder and Fitch. You messed up royally last time. Do not repeat the error is my advice to you. Open up the county and return to return our lives to normal, it is time. Be honest and transparent about the data so people can stop living in fear of a virus with a 99% recovery rate. Use CARES Act funds to educate, assist, and financially support those in the high-risk group. Use those funds to save the small businesses Sampage has destroyed and financially assist their struggling employees. You will do these things if you actually care about your community. Your bad policies and poor leadership are doing real harm now, and it needs to end. The buck stops with you.
From Dawn Ullman, I request Bill 222 and 223 to be voted on and not to be delayed. It is important these bills are passed to require as two-thirds majority support for any decision the county executive makes regarding executive orders or department health orders. St. Louis County is the only county in Missouri who is restricting games for high-contact sports, and I support this being changed immediately so our children can participate fully in sports for their physical and mental well-being. Children need structure, teamwork, and life lessons learned in sports. The county executive has overstepped on this order and cross-checks and balances via Bill 222 and 223 will prevent this in the future. All St. Louis County children need to be back in school in person, and this is supported by dozens of local pediatricians. Counties around us have shown that this can happen effectively with very little COVID risk. Virtual learning is not effective for learning or social and mental well-being, which are greater risks for children than COVID. By not being in school in person, St. Louis County children are now at a disadvantage compared to children in other counties just a few miles away. COVID has been with us all year, and the county flattened the curve many months ago, and hospitals in the county were not overrun. In fact, they furloughed staff. COVID will likely be with us for years to come, with or without a vaccine. We are responsible and know how to take precautions and limit our exposure and of those around us and need to get back to living, just like the counties around us who are just a few miles away where children are in school and sports and guaranteed are doing better educationally, socially, and mentally than our children. Unfortunately, the county executive forced this situation on our children without the county council vote. Again, I request Bill 222 and 223 to be voted on and not to be delayed. It is important these bills are passed to require a two-thirds majority support for any decision the county executive makes regarding executive orders or department health orders. From Kelly Johnston. Discriminate, noun or verb. 1. The unjust or prejudicial treatment of different categories of people or things, especially on the grounds of race, age, or sex. 2. Recognition and understanding of the difference between one thing and another. The sad truth about Sam Page is that he is proving to be an expert at the wrong kind of discrimination. His unjust and prejudicial treatment of his young constituents, and by extension adults who have children, is unconscionable. Instead of recognizing and understanding the difference between risk factors for people under 18, and quite frankly people under 80, and those at high risk of COVID complications, he continues to saddle our children with the largest burden of consequence, along with every unwarranted fear of statistically irrelevant worst-case scenarios. All over Missouri, and even in St. Louis County, restaurants are packed, grocery aisles are full, cross-country meets have 100-plus runners lined up at the start line, and yet Sam Page continues to oppress athletes and their families with arbitrary restrictions. Just in case this isn't already completely obvious to you, if a Walmart can be open at 25% capacity, but a soccer stadium cannot, that is discrimination. If cross-country runners can huff and puff the same air for 3.2 miles, but football players cannot, that is discrimination. If an 80-year-old, overweight, diabetic, smoker can choose to sit indoors at a blackjack table for hours, but two parents cannot watch their senior athlete in his or her last year of competition, that is discrimination. How long will this council stand by and watch Sam Page willfully discriminate? How long will you enable a dictator who cannot differentiate data points between varying demographics? How long will you allow children and families to be crushed with arbitrary restrictions so an unelected official can pander to his donor base? Tonight, you have the opportunity to be scrupulously discriminate by supporting the proposed bills and reining in the wrong kind of discrimination. I beg you to put politics aside and rise to the occasion. From Nicole Harms. I have learned more over the past few months about local government and the politics involved than I ever wanted to know. In fact, most of what I have learned bothers me greatly. No one person should have the power and control to dictate the lives of the people he or she represents. America was created on a system of checks and balances for a reason. Too much power for any one person is dangerous, and we have seen the effects of that overreaching for far too long. Public schools should not be fearful of not receiving the funding gathered from the taxpayers, from the county executive, if they make decisions for their schools and students that go against the county executive's mandates. My kids are in distant learning because you have allowed Mr. Page too much unchecked power. The financial impact on St. Louis County and small business owners is immense, while all other counties around them flourish. It is far past time to take back your responsibilities to the people, businesses, and children. Vote to pass Bills 222 and 223. From Holly Harms. Here we are again, a week later. I think a lot of eyes were opened after watching your council meeting last week. I recall it was the one where you, Dr. Page, didn't show up. Maybe you were in St. Charles at a cross-country meet. I am really wondering what the new narrative will be this week. The overall positivity rate is below 5%, so you can't use that. The positivity rate in the 10 to 19-year-old age group is down 41% over the latest 2-week period, so that is not helpful to your narrative. We have all figured out that the positivity rate you kept referencing in the 15 to 19-year-old range averages out to about 1 positive case per day out of 5 total kids tested, and how many 19-year-olds are actually in high school at this time. I wish you would address why the 19-year-olds are factored into this number. We need these kids in person 5 days a week. These kids need sports, clubs, and activities. They need outlets to be able to relieve stress they are occurring from every life. And from Tara Swires. I am writing this letter to get our St. Louis County children back in school and sports. It should be a choice for parents whether their children should play and attend in-person school. It is not the place of local government to keep the kids out of school and sports. Stop encouraging us to spend money outside of St. Louis County and consider moving our homes outside of St. Louis County so our kids can play and learn. Please pass any bill that serves to limit the powers of our county executive.
The next comment is from Daniel Blust. First, please do not delay voting on Bills 222 and 223 any longer. We demand a yes vote immediately as you represent us. Every surrounding county is currently attending school and playing sports. Our children in St. Louis County need to be allowed to play sports and the option to have in-person school also. They are becoming depressed and our society's mental health is failing due to your unconstitutional mandates. Stop the silly spectator restrictions, especially when played outside. We are all adults and can stand 10 feet apart. Please reverse your extreme restrictions immediately, as the data simply does not support the actions. Our tax dollars are being spent in surrounding counties as we speak, and St. Louis County is missing out. Please be a good leader and mandate something that works for all of us, not just you and your politics. This behavior is disgusting. Madam Chair, that is 2 hours.
Thank you, Lynn, Diane, and Chris. We will proceed with introduction of bills.
Madam Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
I was wondering if I could, before we move on to something else, ask a question of the county executive. Could he respond to a question?
I think that the place in the agenda to make that happen would have been after his comments. I'm not sure that the county executive is with us right now. I'm not seeing him.
I see a square, but I don't know if he's there or not. That's why I wanted to ask. Do you know if he's going to be on the rest of the meeting? I could ask at the end.
I am not sure what the county executive's intentions are this evening, Councilman Harder.
Okay, I'll
Let's
hold
go
my
ahead and
question.
proceed with introduction of bills.
Yes, ma'am. Bill number 224, introduced by Councilmember Clancy for Councilmember Dunaway. An ordinance amending the St. Louis County zoning ordinance and the official zoning district maps by changing the boundaries of the R3 10,000 square foot residence district and the C8 planned commercial district, and approving the application and preliminary plans for the development in the C8 planned commercial district of a tract of land subject to conditions PC 09-20 Gamma Tree Services. Bill number 225, introduced by Councilmember Tracus, an ordinance amending ordinance number 14,263 as amended by repealing and reenacting Section 2 pertaining to PC 225-88, Capital Dearborg's Properties 4. Bill number 226, introduced by Councilmember Fitch, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to grant a temporary construction easement within George Winter County Park to Phillips 66 Pipeline, LLC, Phillips 66, for the purpose of allowing Phillips 66 to replace a section of pipeline, authorizing acceptance of compensation in the amount of $6,591.12 in exchange for said easement and appropriating said funds in the Parks Maintenance Fund. Bill number 227, introduced by Councilmember Clancy, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to accept a 2021 state cybercrime grant of up to $256,367.44 from the Missouri Department of Public Safety, subject to matching requirements, appropriating the same for support of the salary and benefits of 3 detectives who investigate crimes that exploit children, and authorizing the county executive to execute necessary documents. Bill number 228, introduced by Councilmember Tracus, an ordinance amending Chapter 107, Title 1, St. Louis County Revised Ordinances 1974 as amended, purchasing, by repealing and reenacting Section 107.401 pertaining to application of cone of silence. Madam Chair, that is all the bills.
Thank you. We will move on to perfection.
Bill number 20, introduced by Councilmember Harder.
Please hold Bill number 20.
Bill number 20 is held.
Bill number 32, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Please hold Bill number 32.
Bill number 32 is held.
Bill number 175, introduced by Councilmember Spitch and Harder.
I move to hold Bill 175.
Bill 175 is held.
Bill number 176, introduced by Councilmember Spitch and Harder.
I move to hold Bill 176.
Bill number 176 is held.
Bill number 213, introduced by Council Members Days, Fitch, and Harder.
I move to perfect Bill number 213.
Second.
Second.
Discussion, Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Councilman Tracus.
Thank you. This is an important bill, no doubt, but I'm wondering, I know last week Councilwoman Days indicated that she was discussing with legal. I'm curious as to whether or not the counselor's office has issued any opinion concerning whether or not there are any legal impediments to the council moving forward with this bill. That's a question to the county councilor.
They did.
They did. And will that be shared with the rest of us?
I don't know if they sent that to the rest of you or not. That can certainly be done. I don't have a problem with that.
I didn't receive anything.
All right, well,
It was not, I did not ask that it not be sent to anyone else. It could have been.
I just think it's important that the entire council have an opportunity to at least read the councilor's opinion. I support the bill and will vote affirmatively for it, but I would like to see the opinion of the councilor's office concerning whether or not there are any legal impediments that may present problems if the bill is finally passed next week. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Did I hear a second?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Bill number 213 is perfected.
Bill number 215, introduced by Councilmember Walton Gray and Councilmember Clancy.
I move to perfect Bill number 215.
Second.
Thank you. Gray.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Bill number 215 is perfected.
Bill number 216, introduced by Councilmember Walton Gray for Councilmember Clancy.
I move to perfect Bill number 216.
Second. Gray.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Bill number 216 is perfected.
Bill number 217, introduced by Councilmember Walton Gray for Councilmember Clancy.
I move to perfect Bill number 217.
Second. Gray.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Bill number 217 is perfected.
Bill number 218, introduced by Councilmembers Days, Dunaway, Fitch, Walton Gray for Clancy, Tracus, and Harder.
I move to perfect Bill number 218.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Bill number 218 is perfected.
Bill number 219, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
I move to perfect Bill number 219, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Bill number 219 is perfected.
Bill number 220, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Yes, with your indulgence, Madam Chair, Bill number 220 is a bill that cures all of the identified legal impurities associated with Sub-Bill 1 to Bill 175 pertaining to the county executive's emergency orders issued during a pandemic. It presents a clear path to a enforceable ordinance, albeit it only requires a simple majority to extend the county executive orders, and that is only because there's some question as to whether or not this council has the authority to impose a supermajority. I don't disagree with my colleagues, Councilman Harder and Fitch, that a supermajority is preferable. My only concern is whether or not it will result in litigation as we try to determine whether or not we have the authority to do it. So for that reason, I'm going to move to perfect Bill number 220 tonight, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Is there a second?
Second.
Councilman Tracus, I do appreciate the work that you've done in this to find a legally viable path for the goals in this bill. I have some other issues with it, fundamental issues with it, so I do want to let you know I'll be voting no, but I do appreciate the work that you've done to prevent us from needlessly going to court. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
I have to echo, and I didn't say anything. Well, never mind. I'll talk about the other bill next week.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Nay. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Days.
Aye.
Councilmember Dunaway. Councilmember Fitch.
Aye.
Councilmember Gray.
No.
Councilmember Clancy.
No.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Madam Chair, on the perfection of Bill number 220, there are 4 ayes, 2 noes, and 1 absent.
Motion carries. Bill number 220 is perfected.
Moving on to Bill number 221, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Yes, Madam Chair, this bill addresses the same issue, but with respect to the Director of Public Health. And because unfortunately it still is confronting a legal impediment, the same as Bill number 222, I'm going to hold this bill and throw my support behind Councilman Harder and Councilman Fitch's bill number 221, because we're facing the same legal impediment. So with that, Madam Chair, I will hold bill number 220.
Bill number 221.
I'm sorry, 221. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yes. Bill number 221 is held.
Bill number 222, introduced by Councilmembers Fitch and Harder.
I move to perfect Bill number 222.
Second, Harder.
Was there any discussion? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Nay. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Days.
Aye.
Councilmember Dunaway. Councilmember Fitch.
Aye.
Councilmember Gray.
No.
Councilmember Clancy.
No.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Madam Chair, on the motion to perfect Bill number 222, there are 4 ayes, 2 noes, and 1 absent.
Motion carries. Bill number 222 is perfected.
Bill number 223, introduced by Councilmembers Fitch and Harder.
Thank you. I'd like to pick that up, and just a comment before I make my motion. Thank you, first of all, to Councilman Tracus for your work on Bill 220. And I know this Bill 223 is very similar, with the only difference of having a requirement of a 2/3 majority vote of the council to extend public health orders. Even though the county councilor's office has given us an opinion, they disagree that 2/3 is allowable. I think you will understand that this ordinance 703.070 would allow the council to completely eliminate public health orders. So if we can completely eliminate those by ordinance, we can certainly restrict it by 2/3. So with that said, I'd move to perfect Bill number 223.
Second, Harder.
Discussion, Madam
All
Chair?
those in favor? Oh, yes. Go ahead, Councilman Tracus.
I just want to reiterate that I am going to support this bill, and we're going to have 2 similar bills perfected at the same time. I don't believe that creates a conflict now. I would encourage my colleagues to consider the two bills, discuss with one another the respective merits so that we can move forward in a unified manner next week, one way or the other with one of these bills. That's all I have to say on this at this point, Madam Chair. Thank you.
And I agree.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay.
No.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Days.
Aye.
Councilmember Dunaway. Councilmember Fitch.
Aye.
Councilmember Gray.
No.
Councilmember Clancy.
No.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Madam Chair, on the motion to perfect Bill number 223, there are 4 ayes, 2 noes, and 1 absent.
Motion carries. Bill number 223 is perfected. Moving on to final passage.
Bill number 320, introduced by Councilmember Clancy.
I move to hold Bill number 320. Bill number 320 is held.
Substitute Bill number 2 for Bill number 385, introduced by Councilmember Dunaway.
I move to hold substitute Bill number 2 for Bill number 385. Substitute Bill number 2 for Bill number 385 is held.
Bill number 14, introduced by Councilmembers Tracus, Days, Dunaway, Fitch, Walton Gray, Clancy, and Harder.
Please hold Bill number 14, please.
Bill number 14 is held.
Bill number 76, introduced by Councilmembers Dunaway and Harder.
I guess because my name is on it, I will hold this bill number 76.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Bill number 76 is held.
Bill number 202, introduced by Councilmember Clancy.
We will be having a hearing next week about this. I believe we are shooting for Monday afternoon per Councilwoman Days' office. This will be heard in the Revenue and Personnel Committee, so stay tuned for that hearing to be noticed. As such, I will hold Bill number 202, and Bill number 202 is held.
Number 209, introduced by Councilmember Clancy.
I move for final passage of Bill number 209.
Second,
Second.
please.
Gray.
Roll call.
Councilmember Days.
Aye.
Councilmember Dunaway. Councilmember Fitch.
Aye.
Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Madam Chair, on Bill number 209, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Bill number 209 is finally passed.
Bill number 210, introduced by Councilmember Clancy.
I move for final passage of Bill number 210.
Second. Gray.
Roll call.
Councilmember Days.
Aye.
Councilmember Dunaway. Councilmember Fitch.
Aye.
Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Madam Chair, on Bill number 210, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Bill number 210 is finally passed.
Bill number 211, introduced by Councilmember Clancy.
I move for final passage of Bill number 211.
Second. Harder.
Gray.
Roll call.
Councilmember Days.
Aye.
Councilmember Dunaway. Councilmember Fitch.
Aye.
Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus,
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Madam Chair, on Bill number 211, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Bill number 211 is finally passed.
Bill number 212, introduced by Councilmembers Dunaway and Walton Gray.
I move for final passage of Bill number 212.
Second, Days.
Roll call.
Councilmember Days,
Aye.
Councilmember Dunaway, Councilmember Fitch,
Aye.
Councilmember Gray,
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy,
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus,
Aye.
Councilmember Harder. Madam Chair, on Bill number 212, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Bill number 212 is finally passed.
Bill number 214, introduced by Councilmember Fitch.
I'd like to take that up. I'm going to hold this 1 week, waiting for some answers to some questions submitted, so I will hold on the order of business.
All right. Bill number 214 is held.
Moving on to resolutions, Madam Chair, we have 6 resolutions this evening. The first resolution is introduced by Council Members Walton Gray, Days, Dunaway, Fitch, and Clancy.
I move for the adoption of resolution number 1.
Second, Days.
If you could please read the sections that I previously gave you.
Yes, ma'am. Resolution. Whereas 43 children in the United States are diagnosed with cancer every day, and worldwide, at least 300,000 children and adolescents are diagnosed with cancer each year. And whereas cancer is the leading cause of death by disease past infancy for children in the United States. And whereas in 2012, then President Barack Obama proclaimed September National Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, stating, quote, "I encourage all Americans to join me in reaffirming our commitment to fighting childhood cancer. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the County Council of St. Louis County, Missouri as follows. Section 1. The County Council recognizes September as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, honors all the children, families, and professionals engaged in the courageous fight against childhood cancers, and encourages all St. Louis Countyans to educate themselves regarding the facts and issues related to childhood cancer and the ways in which we can all contribute to defeating these terrible diseases."
I repeat my motion.
Second, still stands.
Please call the roll.
Councilmember Days,
Aye.
Councilmember Dunaway, Councilmember Fitch,
Aye.
Councilmember Gray,
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy,
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus,
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Madam Chair, on resolution number 1, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Resolution number 1 is adopted.
Resolution number 2, introduced by Councilmember Harder.
Please, resolution number 2 in its entirety.
Yes, sir. Resolution. Whereas eating and drinking establishments in St. Louis County employ more than 67,000 people, which is 10% of the entire workforce, and contribute on average between $1.65 to $1.87 to the state economy for every dollar spent therein. Prior to the current COVID-19 pandemic, restaurant job creation outpaced the overall private sector by a wide margin, and 1 in 2 Americans get their first job experience working in the restaurant industry, which provides opportunities for advancement. And whereas restaurants employ more women and minority managers than any other industry. And whereas, according to Bureau of Economic Analysis data, the economic impact of restaurants exceeds the effect of the hotel and lodging industry, food and beverage stores, the airline industry, and transit and ground passenger transportation combined. And whereas, due to the pandemic, the St. Louis County Department of Public Health instituted full shutdown of dine-in restaurants on March 19, 2020, and has limited dine-in occupancy of such establishments to 25% since July 29, 2020. And whereas many restaurants have not been able to offer carry-out service and do not have exterior space to take advantage of outside dining in order to make up for lost inside capacity. And further, seasonal temperature changes that will soon eliminate outdoor seating, even for restaurants that currently offer it. And whereas funds provided by the Federal Payroll Protection Plan, PPP, which was helping restaurants retain staff in the hopes of a full reopening, ran out at the end of July 2020. And whereas the loss of business and lack of access to government support is leading to permanent restaurant closures, and industry experts predict restaurant closings could double in the next 60 to 90 days due to the financial hardships of COVID-related shutdown. And further, 1 in 5 restaurants could close permanently, including chain restaurants, but with the impact most heavily felt by small independent restaurants. And whereas the food service industry has been hit hardest of all the industries impacted by COVID-related shutdowns, I think it's COVID-related, shutdowns, and nationally, 60% of all restaurant and 54% of bars and nightlife operation closures are permanent. And whereas the full impact of restaurant closures of this scale would also result in catastrophic consequences all the way down the supply chain, which means significant job losses outside of the restaurant industry itself. And whereas a partial list of the restaurants that were located in St. Louis County that have permanently closed since April 2020 includes 5 Star Burgers, Creve Coeur, Bravo, West County Mall, Charred Crust, Clayton, Cork Wine Bar, Ferguson, Cousin Hugo's, Maplewood, Cusinelli's, Lemay, Filomena's Italian Kitchen, Glendale, Firehouse Subs, Chesterfield, Forenza, Webster Groves, Half and Half, Webster Groves, Italiana, De Pere, Jason's Deli, Chesterfield, Local Chef Kitchen, Baldwin, Longhorn Steakhouse, Chesterfield, Mayana Mexican Kitchen, Clayton, Menchie's, Town and Country, Mike's Hot Dogs, University City, Miller House, Wildwood, P.F. Chang's, Clayton, Panda Express, South County Center, Paul Minio's Trattoria, Westport, Pizza Hut, Chesterfield, Russell's Cafe and Bakery, Chesterfield, Sardella, Clayton, Stir Crazy Fresh Asian Grill, St. Louis, Stir Crazy Fresh Asian Grill, Creve Coeur, Subway, 3 locations, Sushi House, Chesterfield, Taco Pita Grill, Ellisville, Tani Sushi, Clayton, The Dubliner, Maplewood, Twin Peaks, Chesterfield, Wasabi Sushi Bar, St. Louis. And whereas the root cause of these hardships is directly attributable to the limitations placed on these businesses by the county executive and the Department of Public Health, who could remove them at their discretion, just as the officials in St. Charles County and the city of St. Louis have already done by opening up restaurants with distancing guidelines only. Now therefore, be it resolved by the County Council of St. Louis County, Missouri as follows. Section 1, the Council acknowledges the economic and societal benefits of restaurant operations and the financial and operational hardship faced by the restaurant industry and those who work in that industry because of pandemic restrictions, and encourages the public to continue to support their favorite eating establishments through either carryout, dining in, or gift card purchases. Section 2, the council calls on the county executive and Department of Public Health to increase restaurant occupancy limits to at least 50%, and further encourages the county executive and the Department of Public Health to work with restaurants located in St. Louis County to identify and or provide whatever interim supports they can provide whatever interim supports they can until they can resume full operation. Section 3, the acting administrative director shall send certificate copies of this resolution to the county executive and the acting directors of the Department of Public Health.
Thank you very much, Diane.
Welcome.
I move that we accept resolution number 2.
Second.
Second, Days.
Before we vote, Councilman Harder, I want to thank you for calling attention to the unique challenges faced by our restaurant industry here in St. Louis. I know that that is one of the things that many people value about this region, and they've had a lot of unique struggles throughout these 7 months and will continue to. I also would like to thank our health department, who has been working very closely with many of our restaurants and made some arrangements with some of them for outdoor dining. I know here in Clayton that is something that is underway, and they've done a really fantastic job working with restaurants to make some considerations to support them and their ability to stay open, hopefully. So I wanted to recognize them for that work, and I am excited that it sounds like they are well underway with being able to respond to increasing the occupancy, hopefully before too long, that you call for in this resolution. So we will go ahead and take the vote. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Days,
Aye.
Councilmember Dunaway, Councilmember Fitch,
Aye.
Councilmember Gray,
No.
Councilmember Clancy,
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus,
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Madam Chair, on resolution number 2, there are 5 ayes, 1 no, and 1 absent.
Resolution number 2 is adopted.
Resolution number 3, introduced by Councilmember Walton Gray.
I move for the adoption of resolution number 3.
Second, Days.
Please call the roll.
Madam Chair, excuse me.
Yes, go ahead, Councilman Fitch.
Could we get the clerk to read the first section of the resolution so the public knows which one it is?
Whereas James Lewis Allen was born in St. Louis on July 12, 1933, the oldest of the 7 children of James Allen and Dorothy Woods Allen.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Councilmember Days,
Aye.
Councilmember Dunaway, Councilmember Fitch,
Aye.
Councilmember Gray,
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy,
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus,
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Madam Chair, on resolution number 3, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Resolution number 3 is adopted.
Resolution number 4, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Yes, and Madam Chair, Resolution 4 is a profoundly important resolution, perhaps the most important resolution this body will consider this year. So the public knows, the resolution seeks to have the council resolve to fully fund the St. Louis County Police Department at a level no less than was appropriated in 2020 or the forthcoming year. So because it's so important, because I want every member of this body to have an opportunity to read the resolution, and I encourage the public to do the same and let us know your feelings on it, I'm going to hold this resolution until next week, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Resolution number 4 is held.
Resolution number 5, introduced by Council Members Clancy for Dunaway, Days, Fitch, Clancy, Tracus, and Harder. This
I move for,
resolution- Oh, excuse me.
go ahead.
I was just going to say this resolution is an honorary resolution for Mark Bellman,
Thank you.
North County.
I move for adoption of resolution number 5.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Days,
Aye.
Councilmember Dunaway, Councilmember Fitch,
Aye.
Councilmember Gray,
Abstain.
Councilmember Clancy,
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus,
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
I'm going to say aye, and I want to say that Mr. Bellman has given a lot to North County and will be sorely missed in that community, both in the school district and for his charity work in that area. And I'm sad to see him step out of the limelight, but maybe he'll come back in another position. So I say aye.
Madam Chair, on resolution number 5, there are 5 ayes, 1 abstention, and 1 absent.
Resolution number 5 is adopted.
Resolution number 6,
I'm
introduced
for
by
the adop-
Councilmember Walton Gray.
Can you read the first line, please?
Yes, ma'am. Whereas Jennifer Denise Smith was born on December 6, 1976 to Marvin and Freddie Marie.
So this is just a resolution in recognition of her passing. I move for the adoption of resolution number 6.
Second, Days.
Roll call.
Councilmember Days,
Aye.
Councilmember Dunaway, Councilmember Fitch,
Aye.
Councilmember Gray,
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy,
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus,
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Madam Chair, on resolution number 6, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Resolution number 6 is adopted.
Moving on to unfinished business, item number 1.
Since this request has been made, there have been quite a few changes, including a new director of diversity, equity, and inclusion, as well as other items that have impacted this request. The new director of diversity, equity, and inclusion, Mr. Kenny Murdoch, reached out today to me to share with me that he would like to drop this. He has identified that there is existing data from 2019 that he will use for the 2021 equity study that we will all be able to look forward to in the coming months. As such, he has asked me to drop this item from the agenda, and I will share that memo for inclusion in next week's packet so that everyone can see the details of that request. So this item will be dropped from the agenda.
Moving on to new business, we have 3 prepared orders this evening. The first order is in the matter of communications from Jennifer Keating, Acting Director of Procurement, and Todd A. Martin, Director of Administration, requesting authorization to dispose of certain personal property.
I move for the adoption of order number 1.
Second.
Is there a second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Order number 1 is adopted.
Prepared order number 2 is in the matter of the request of the records manager for permission to destroy certain books, papers, and records of the Department of Administration and the Department of Police.
I move for the adoption of order number 2.
Second, Days.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any opposed? Motion carries. Order number 2 is adopted.
And prepared order number 3 is in the matter of petition for approval of amended density development procedure for arbors at Summit Residential Subdivision on a tract of land containing 6.8 acres, more or less.
I'd like to take that up. I move for the adoption of order number 3.
Second, Days.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Order number 3 is adopted. That brings us to the end of our agenda. Any further discussion from the council?
Madam Chair,
Councilman Harder.
since you weren't here last week, I held my comment. I was wondering, the last time you were here at the 2 weeks ago, we talked about the next steps in opening up the county office and opening up the boardroom. And you mentioned at that time that you were waiting for something from the legal department about this. Did you get that, and have you distributed that to the rest of the council?
Yes, I checked in with them again today because I am still awaiting their legal opinion. As you know, we have kept the county counselor's office quite busy lately, asking for a variety of legal opinions on pressing matters. So I was told and assured by Jen Frank that we would have an opinion by the end of this week. And as soon as I get that opinion, Councilman Harder, as I always do, I will share that information with you.
Okay. I also want to note that there's a number of cities, Baldwin, Bridgeton, Country Life Acres, Ellisville. We also have Overland and Twin Oaks and Wellston, Winchester, and Woodson Terrace are all having open and live meetings at this point, and there's others that are slated to open as well. So there is a precedent. There is a lot of municipals that are having live meetings in place and with the necessary protocols. So I hope to hear that legal opinion soon. Thank you.
Yeah, Councilman Harder, I am curious, do you have any data on the volume of public participation that those bodies are receiving?
That is not data I've collected, but I'd be happy to do that.
Okay, I'd be curious
If that gets us opened up any sooner.
I would be curious about that. I mean, we have been receiving a high volume of public participation lately, which is great, but is something that we need to consider when it comes to bringing folks back into the chamber, especially in terms of making sure that the conditions within the chamber are going to keep everyone safe and healthy. One, I think, option potentially that we could explore that I did ask the counselor's office to add to their memo today would be the possibility of just the council members coming back. I believe that the police commission is currently operating in this way, in which police commission members are meeting in person, but the public is still participating virtually. So that might be something for us to consider as well. So I asked for them to give us an opinion on that. So I look forward to their opinion by the end of this week. And as I stated, I will share that with you all, and we can discuss what we would like to do with that.
Also, I think there's a dynamic here that it's easy for people to send in their comments. So we're getting a lot more comments. It's a lot harder for them to get in the car, get dressed up, and come into our meetings. So I think we won't see 300 people in our meetings. We'll be back to what we used to have, which was 30 or 40 people max at our meetings. So I think it's really easy right now to run the numbers high because it's easy to send in these comments without having to do much when it comes to being in face-to-face with us. So I would not compare apples to oranges here with that logic, but it's a good point. Also, I've got a big bucket of candy for Halloween, so I'm not sharing that unless we go back to in-place meetings.
I already told you today I miss your Halloween candy bucket. Chocolate makes everything better.
Thank you.
All right.
Madam Chair, I do have one comment.
Yes, go ahead, Councilman Fitch.
Thank you. I was hoping the county executive would still be here. I sent him a letter today, and I copied Councilwoman Dunaway as the chairwoman of the CARES Oversight Committee, and Cora Faith Walker from the county executive's office about a concern that I know many of us have on this council about the unincorporated residents of St. Louis County. About a third of the county is still unincorporated. And we've done exactly what we should have done with the municipalities and set aside $47 million for relief, CARES Act relief funds for the unincorporated or for the incorporated cities. That comes out to about $68 a head per city. But I am very concerned because we have not done that for the unincorporated area. And if I do the math right, we have about 300,000 residents of unincorporated St. Louis County. That would be about a little more than $20 million that we should have set aside for the unincorporated public safety costs, just like the municipalities will be getting. So I did address it, send that in a letter today. I hope to get a response, but I'm really concerned because county executive said that everything's been accounted for and allotted of those funds, but $10 million. So I don't believe, at least I don't have heard of any part of that money going for the unincorporated area for public safety costs. Do you know otherwise, Madam Chair? Since the county is not here.
I do not have that information. I think that those are important questions. So I would be curious to see your memo if you would care to share that more broadly, and curious to see what the response is as well.
I'd be happy to, and I did ask for it to be placed, the letter on the council agenda for next week, but I'll be happy to send it prior to that.
Okay. Yes, I would. Yes, was that Councilman Tracus?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I want to thank Councilman Fitch for his letter. I've read it, and it is certainly appropriate. I enthusiastically support it, and I'm looking forward to the county executive's answer. So thank you, Councilman Fitch.
All right. Any further discussion? I would entertain. Yep, go right ahead. I'll let you do it.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there
So-
a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, the meeting is adjourned. Have a good evening, everyone.
You as well.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.